Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to RJ. Myself, this is Comicbook Team Up. It's dual streamed on my channel, John's Longbox, and RJ's channel, The Fourth Age. How you doing, RJ?
I'm doing good.
Are you warm?
No, well, I'm trying to keep warm. Oh, it's frigid out there. The only thing I did outside today was go shovel snow, and that was it for about 20 minutes.
Yeah, my wife, like, it's like a snowflake hits the ground, and bing, her Canadian powers activate, and she's outside shoveling snow. She like turns into Elf if you watch that movie. It's like just like it's like a perfect. She loves it. Yeah, my wife is Canadian, so that's her superpower is shoveling snow. I haven't shoveled snow since I got married.
uh,
Uh,
again, that. I think I've told this joke on our channel before, John, but reminds me of that old joke. As it's the old gardener's joke. Never plant a garden bigger than your wife can weed.
I never heard that. Yeah, yeah. You can see I'm wearing this. My wife bought me this. This is just like a like a fleece flannel, whatever you want to call it. Like it like comes down to my knees. Oh my god, I love this. I because I work outside. Even I'm a construction worker, so most of the time the buildings aren't built yet, and we're building them, and they don't have walls for a while. And then then they just have whatever open areas, just wind blowing through. Sometimes it's even colder inside than outside because the wind is focused. So when I come home, I just don't want to be cold. So I get all cozy. I got big thick socks on. Oh man, you know, I refuse to come home and be like, my father as a kid, don't touch that thermostat. So I'm like, no, I'm freaking up. I'm turning up the thermostat. I'm warm.
Uh,
Hey,
I got
George.
the way my stuff works is that you wanted it hotter in the house, you put more wood in the fire. The thermostat's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
So,
we have a thermostat, but I bought one of those. I installed one of those Japanese split units, they call them. So it's an air conditioner and a heater. Oh
all
my
right.
god, it's so good. It's so energy efficient, and it's quiet. So I put the heat on at a normal, like 68 degrees, and then if I need it, I turn the split unit on, and it's quiet. Because I don't know what's more expensive, oil or electricity. How you doing, Zach?
Um,
10? I got my blessing. There you go.
I just
So
opt out of both of them, John, and go for wood.
yeah, I told you we chopped down a tree, so I got so much wood in my backyard, but I don't have a fireplace. But I got like a hole up against the fence, almost 4 feet high from one end of my yard to the other end of the yard. It's all chopped wood.
I'm
Yeah,
assuming that since you're in New York, there's no way you can start a backyard fire, can you, without somebody coming down on you?
I'm if it's not too crazy. Like I bought a round elevated tripod.
Right?
Like last year, a couple of friends came over. We sat in the backyard, drank beers, and I threw some logs on the fire. And I imagined I was going to be doing that more often, so I didn't get rid of the wood. But I think I did a smart thing because my next door neighbor cut down a tree on their front yard, and the wood's just laying in front of the house. So now they can't park in front of the house, because the wood is there. And people come by and steal it once in a while, but now gigantic pieces are just left. So you know, I know. At least mine is stacked up in the backyard. So
I love the gigantic pieces. That's what I actually go for. I got this giant wood box on my furnace. It's probably what, like, 3 feet by 2.5 feet by 30 inches. So it's huge. It's not like a wood doctor, which you put logs in. So you have ones you can put actual logs in now instead
okay.
of cutting them up, right? But mine's I poached this furnace off of a shop. It was a auto body shop, so they just gave it to me for free because they were upgrading. I was like, great, I'll take it. It's
The next
huge.
door neighbor, like the discs at the when you chop the tree down at the bottom, it was just almost a perfect circle of wood. And I'm so mad that I didn't take it when I did. I was thinking of taking it and either making a table for outside just to do it, or make a target because I wanted to get throwing hatchets for the backyard. So I'm mad that
Yeah,
I
my
didn't. I
we
hesitated.
We had the hurricane that ran through here about 5 years ago, took down two huge, big maple trees that were in front of my mother and father's place. My brother they were probably about at least 4 feet across when we had to cut them up, right? So at the base, my brother was keeping pieces like that. He's like, I'm making a table out of this.
Yeah. I just want to say hello to all the people. I just thought, is this NDA Andrew? Because somebody said hello to Andrew. So if it is, hello. Even if it's not, hello anyway. Good to see you. Garfield's Bizarre Adventure says the crazy part is Europe is higher on the latitude and longitude than the U.S., but yet they are much warmer than New York and Toronto. Yeah, I think it has to do with the maritime climates, the ocean bringing heat or something.
Apparently, parts of Russia right now are getting walloped by snow. We're talking like 5-story buildings getting.
There's 130 feet of snow in Kamchatka, which I only know because I played a lot of Risk. You know, Kamchatka is where we went to invade Japan and the United States. Hey, Vaz is here. How you doing? Good to see you. Okay, how you doing, NDA Andrew? What was I going to say? Me and NDA Andrew and Von Coleman are making like a little promo poster that I don't know what we'll do with it, but it's fun to make stuff of all of our speedster characters. That's Renzo is going to be. He's finishing up a page, and that's his next page that he's going to work on. And
I'm telling you guys have to add the character. I'll make my speedster character Master Race.
Gulfstream blows warm air from the tropics to Europe and keeps it warm. Risk. Have you played Risk, RJ?
I have. It's not my most favorite game in the world, but I played it a couple of times.
Yeah, Risk. You know, that was a typical like Monopoly, all those games, but they're not really good games. You know, but I got other war games that satisfy my Risk, you know, cravings, but they're better games. Like I got a Monopoly replacement called Lords of Vegas and Risk. But if anybody wants to play like a Conquer the World games, I got other games because Risk, it's you're losing, but you don't want to be a jerk and quit. So you sit there for 2 hours losing at Risk, you know, hold up in Australia. But there's a new version of Risk called Risk 2020 that fixes all the problems with Risk. So if anybody is not 20, I think it's called 20, I don't know, 2424, something like that. If anybody's interested in Risk, get a copy of Risk 2424. I think that's what it's called. And it also has another smaller map where you conquer the moon and, you know, underwater colonies and stuff like that. But it's just so much better. Trust me. It took all the problems of Risk out and made it a quick 2-hour game that if, you know, you have a chance of coming back, even if you're getting slaughtered.
There's a World War II game that I always wanted to try, but I never actually got around to buying. It's made by the same people who made Carcassonne. So the little flyers in the Carcassonne box. I can't remember what the heck is the name of it. Like
I have the
or something like
big box, you know, like all the expansions. Because I like Carcassonne. It's one of the first games I got into when I got back into board games. I'm trying to think of what it would be. I think Kamchatka should become the state of other Alaska. I love that version. Oh, you played that version. Okay. My Risk replay is Rune Wars is a good game too. Yes, there's a lot. I'm looking around. I got a lot of like war games. I got Risk Europe, Risk Legacy, but the problem with Risk Legacy is I want to play with it's a legacy game is a game you play with 5 people, the same 5 people all the time. And every time you play the game, the rules change based on who won. Like there's like sticker rules, and you put them on the board or you put them in the rule book. And every time you play, the game changes. And at the end of 15 games, you have a unique version of Risk that nobody else in the world will have, and you can continue playing it. But I bought two copies of it because I want to play with the same people, because it doesn't mean anything if you're playing with different people every time. And one group fell apart doing COVID, and the other group is all my nieces and nephews who are now scattered around the world getting married and having kids. Invasion America is another good game. Yep. The moon and the undersea colonies were fun. We also had Middle Earth Risk. Yes, there's a Middle Earth Risk. But, you know, the problem with Risk is it was made in like the 40s. Just imagine playing like video games that are 60 years old. You know what I mean? The technology has moved on. Like, if you want to play a good war game, play Root. Oh my God, it's cute little forest animals, squirrels and birds and otters and stuff. But it's a bloodthirsty war game. And the hard thing about Root is every player has their own rules. So if you're playing with 6 people, you're literally teaching 6 different games. It's very asymmetrical. Each team, it's the most complicated game to teach, but to play, it's not that bad because each player just has to deal with their own set of rules. Wow, a lot of comments about this. Progs desire nothing less than omnipotence, and even if they were capable of obtaining it, they would not be satisfied. Bring us right to politics. Thank you. Yep.
Sandro is correct, though.
He's absolutely right. I've been saying, like, to encapsulate the right and left into 2 words. RJ, tell me if you agree with this. The left is indulgence. The right is consequences.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the right and left in a 1-word description. Root is Redwall, the board game. I don't know what Redwall is. Is that a video game?
No, it's a book.
Oh, John, have I ever played Stormbringer or RuneQuest? The role playing games. I played Stormbringer, the role playing game, and there was like a 2 or 3 year period where I was obsessed with Elric of Melbourne Bonet, however you say it, and Michael Moorcock. Yeah, I really, really, really liked it. And since you brought up board games, RJ, I got to show you this. I just got this in the mail. This is V&V, module supplements. So this is, the role-playing game that I always play, the superhero role-playing game, Villains and Vigilantes. I haven't been keeping up with the newer stuff, and I emailed Scott Bizarre, the owner of Fantasy Games Unlimited, the company that makes, they also make, I think, Top Secret. I think they make Boot Hill, but they make like a whole bunch of role-playing games. A samurai game called Bushido. And I just said to him, because I asked permission to do this. I might as well, since I'm showing everything, I asked permission if I could use the V&V logo on the backs of my cards, because, here's the Patriarch, and on the trading card on the back of it is a character sheet. A couple people gave me crap for the way this looks, but this is literally how the character sheets in this game look. So go figure. But he said, yeah, sure, you have my blessing to do it. And then he said, maybe after you got a couple of comics out, you'll make a Villains Vigilante supplement. So I said, sure. So I emailed him. I said, are you still up for that? So he said, yeah, send me a comic book, which is smart. I guess he wants to make sure my comic, A, isn't porn, and B, is good, and C, it actually exists. And then he emailed, he goes, what are you missing as far as V&V? And I told him the last one I bought. And then he sent me all of this. So I don't know. He still never told me whether or not I could make this, but there's a lot of questions I got to ask. Like, am I making it? Am I paying for it? Is all the money mine? Like, because if I'm laying out the money to make it, then I'm keeping all the money that comes in, just because it's V&V. Geez, nobody buys V&V but me. But anyway, it's cool. It's cool. Sorry for the politics. I used to own the Bushido board game. Yeah, that one I never played. The RuneQuest a role-playing game I never played, but there's a RuneQuest Tacticals Miniatures game. I'm looking right at it. It's over there. I got the original version, and then there's like a Tacticals Miniatures game, and then there's a board game, and they're slightly different. Board games are usually less complicated than Tactical Miniatures game. Free stuff means yes. I'm all about. I like free stuff. Who doesn't like free stuff? So I wanted to ask you a question, RJ.
Okay.
Do you ever put out a call for artists? Like a call?
No. A long time ago I did, and that's where Renzo came from. But that was probably like 6-7 years ago.
Oh, that was the best call you ever put out then.
Yeah. Not then. No.
I put out a few cold calls, and I don't know what's AI, and I don't know what's a scammer. Like, there's one guy. He says he charges $30 a page, and his stuff is excellent. And all I can think of is it a scam or it's AI? Either way, I don't want to deal with it.
Okay. Well, the question you should be asking yourself is, where is he from?
Right. I think he's from India.
Okay.
Or someplace.
That's probably a scam. I can tell you right now.
Yeah.
It's some guy from India tried to scam me for doing Fade to Blue. He started by giving me a couple of pages. I gave him the script for the first 3 pages. I said, give me 3 pages and I'll see what your stuff is like. and he gave me 2.5 pages, and then he couldn't give me anything else, and he started giving me sob stories about his kids being sick and all these things about forwarding him money. Is like, yeah, you're a scam, like straight up scam. The first 3 pages must have been done by AI. So
yeah. So anyway, I put out and then I just dropped it because I got discouraged. But Aaron Sparrow sent me a guy, and he's too good to be true. I'm like, I can't afford this guy. I can't afford this guy. So we've been talking all day long, and I think he has a little bit of difficulty with English. So, maybe that's why he's affordable. But oh my God. So I pulled out an old script, and I was kind of like, I guess this is DOA, because a couple of artists were like interested and then they weren't interested. And it's not one of the stories that needs to be told. It's just a fun like side quest about the history of Science City before it was Science City. And so this is what I'm doing. I told him, like, he's already like, I'll give you 5 pages. I was like, no, give me 1 page. Just draw 1 page. And then he asked me good questions. What is this character like? You know what I mean? So I said, I'm going to pay you because I don't want you to draw 1 page on spec. That, you know what I mean? That's kind of crummy. So I said, anybody who's ever tried out for me, I paid them to try out for me. You know what I mean? So he'll send me a page. He colors. I'm really excited because first off, Aaron Sparrow, if anybody knows Aaron Sparrow, he has his own book, Kneel Before Doomface. He used to write the comic for Darkwing Duck. I met the guy. So when he recommended him, I was like, of course, I'm going to check him out. But I'm like, oh my God, this guy is, I can't wait. He you know who he looks like? His art reminds me of Alex Rabin's art. Yeah. So the guy who originally did Flash Gordon. So I'm super excited. So that's all I want to talk about all day at work today. I'm like, you want to see this guy's art? Like, no, I want to finish the electrical work. I gotta. At work, everybody's talking about the Mets, and I'm just sitting there like, I got a new artist for my comic book, and they're like, we don't give a crap. We're
yeah, you guys got what's his name? Bichette went from the Blue Jays to the Mets. I'm steaming over that.
RJ, we're gonna talk sports now. What do I think of Terry Pratchett? I read the first 2 books, the Color of Magic. Is that the name of it? And the book right after that. I really liked it, and I got all of the board games based on Terry Pratchett. They're surprisingly good. Ankh-Morpork is an amazing game. There's no rules, and you don't know how to win. It's just there's 6 different players, and everybody's dealt out a card, and on the card it tells you how to win. And the only rules to the game is you draw a card and you play a card. So everybody has a hand of 6 cards, and the cards tell you what to do. I just taught you how to play this game, but it is amazing. It's so much fun. But yes, I'm a big fan of I plan on reading more and more of his books. Caffeinated Wolf says Renzo is super talented. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does. Yes, me too. And of course, he's going to send the roughs, and me, you, and Vaughn will approve it, and then move from there. Tony Grigo is here. How you doing, Tony? India scam? I know. RJ, it's so funny that 15 years ago, 20 years ago, India was this like exotic place full of mystics and wisdom, and you know what I mean? And now it's just like, I don't want to go there. There's poop everywhere, and everybody's a scam artist. But the internet completely exposed India. There's no place to hide from the internet, ladies and gentlemen.
One of the funniest things I've seen in a long time is that apparently they got all these scammers around basically the Eiffel Tower in France, right? And they're just scamming people with what they're selling. So people decided, since they don't know anything about European society, that they would buy stuff from them using monopoly money, and they scam the scammers.
Oh, that's funny. That is really funny. That is super funny. Garfield's Bizarre Adventure says Indian studios are being hired by companies like Walt Disney and blatantly stealing from independent creators. They stole the choreography from a fan film for the Disney. Yes. And there's a couple of people, I'm not going to name names but there's a couple of people that I know who were animators. And one of them was mad because they're like, they only hire Canadian animators, and he's out of work. And then one of them is a Canadian animator. He's like, they only hire Indian animators, and he's out of work in Canada. So like, it's, and tell me, what was the last new cartoon that you saw that was not Japanese that you were impressed by the animation? So I the only and it's probably old and people can laugh at me, but I've been watching Gravity Falls, which I absolutely love.
Aaron, I don't know if this would count, but Violet Evergarden would probably be the last one. That was a Netflix one. But whether or not, I don't think it was a Japanese studio that did the animation for it. But hey, I'm not entirely sure. It was very anime-ish.
Yeah. Aaron Sparrow is on Critical Thinking. Yeah, he invited me. I've been on because of Aaron Sparrow. He brought me on, and that's how I met Wes from Thinking Critical. He's been nothing but nice to me. He's also got me on Yellow Flash. So Aaron Sparrow could do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. He's a true gentleman. I enjoy the hell out of him, and it's funny because I'm a gregarious New Yorker, Italian, Irish, big family. So when I saw him at Comic-Con, I don't know why. I'm kind of embarrassed, but what's embarrassing yourself on the internet, right? So I saw him, I got all excited, and I hugged him, and he looked horrified. He's not a hugger in the slightest, and he was just like, why is this guy hugging? It was just so funny. He was like skeeved. I'm like, sorry, Aaron, I got carried away. I'm emotional. What do you want me to say? The color of magic is purple. It's funny because if you read the book, it's described as like a purplish green. Hi, I'm the pro. So India is currently like San Francisco. I tell you, I'm a New Yorker. I just said that. I'm a construction worker. I literally been in fist fights weeks ago. Every time I get on the subway, I fight. You'll see me on YouTube. It's crazy old bearded man fights guy on subway. You'll see it sooner or later. But San Francisco is the only place I was actually scared to be by myself walking in. It is disgusting. I stayed with my friend, and I stayed there for a couple of weeks trying to get a job years ago before I was a construction worker. And I was like, I got to get out of here. Like, I was walking around. I didn't know the good neighborhoods I was like, I'm going back. I've been in the slums of Albuquerque. I've been in New York. I've been in Mexico. Me and my friends lived on a beach in Mexico for a summer. Never felt in danger, but San Francisco is disgusting. If I wanted to go to a place with poop, New Orleans is the place that smells like pee. San Francisco is the place that smells like poop. Your choice. Do you like poop better or you like pee better? Some Canadians use Canadian Tire fake money in the past. Is that a thing? Do you know what he's talking about?
Yeah. Canadian Tire has. Well, I don't think they have it anymore. I think they got rid of it about 2 years ago. They used to have actual bills instead of getting a coupon, or you'd get extra change back every time you bought something there, which would be a bill, but they would be like 5 cents, 10 cents, 20 cents. So it'd be like a coupon, right? But it would look like actual money.
Oh, okay. I just got a message from the artist. I was like, I was waiting for him to be like, I quit, because that happened already. I had a guy work for me for less than 6 hours. And you know him too. I think he did the same thing to you. I'm really enjoying Andy Tartako's yeah, I watched the first season of Primal. I got to go back. I kind of forgot about it. I got to go back. What are they? Oh, he's talking about Primal. Okay. So far he's a zombie. All right. I guess you talk about something else. I don't know. All right. They talk about I skipped one. RJ, who's your favorite Canadian superhero besides Wolverine?
Captain Canuck. I don't know. My favorite Canadian hero besides Wolverine. I guess Namorita. No, not Namorita. What was Namor's wife's name? The girl from Alpha Flight. What the heck is her name? The green one. What is her name? She was in the first issue of Alpha Flight. She's actually from Newfoundland because she was born on the
Namorita. I mean, Marina.
Marina, yes, that would be Marina. There you go.
Yeah, I like Marina. Yeah, me too. It's a shame what happened to that character. They kind of had no purpose for us.
I used to draw that character. I loved there was a couple of issues done by what the heck was it? Larry Stroman that did her. A couple of pictures of her, just magnificent.
Yeah, he's a good artist. I like his art. That's a blast from the past. He did Alien Legion. That's how I know him.
Yeah.
He did a lot of things that I didn't realize he did until after he became like a superstar from Alien Legion. Necromancy, George. I couldn't help but read that in Kramer's voice from Seinfeld. Necromancy, George. George, they're raising the dead, George. If he willed himself back to life, okay, you're having a conversation. Inspector Gadget is Canadian? Really?
I'm not entirely sure.
I don't like Wolverine, Cyclops, I don't like Wolverine. Cyclops and Archangel fan. I used to be a Cyclops fan until they made him a deadbeat dad, and it just assassinated the character. I know they wanted to get him back with the original X-Men, but they could have handled it so much better, to the point that if I wrote the X-Men, I would say that Jean Grey has been manipulating. I have no problems making her the villain. She killed a whole planet full of people. So I would say that, because if you look at, like, I'm definitely trying to root for Cyclops. I want a redemption arc for Cyclops. If I wrote the X-Men, I would have Cyclops leave the team, and he would have a miniseries, a 6-issue miniseries. He goes back to Alaska, where he grew up. He becomes like a mechanic. He gets involved in some local gang violence over there, and he comes to the realization that all of like Cyclops. He goes on a date. This just had a flash of inspiration. So he goes on a date, and he's talking to a girl, and he's just like, "Listen, I used to be in the X-Men. I'm psyched." She goes, "What do you think? I don't know who you are. Who else wears red glasses like that? You're world famous." And she's and he's talking about his ex, like it's their third date. He's talking about all their exes. And she goes, "Are all your ex-wives and girlfriends telepaths? Have you ever dated a non-telepath?" And he's just like, "My mentor was a telepath. My love was a telepath. The White Queen was a telepath." He's like, "All my life, telepaths." And then he's just like, so he goes and gets a brain scan, and they find out that he actually has brain damage. He literally has brain damage. So he's getting investigated, and then like maybe he talks to Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is just like, "Yeah, your psyche has been eroded from constant telepaths." Like, so he's just like, "You need to stay away from telepaths. You need to heal." And that's where the 6-issue series, he goes and heal, and then he comes back to the X-Men just like, "I haven't had my own personality since I was 16 years old." You know what I mean? Xavier, you, for good or for bad, whatever, constantly mind reports and stuff like that has damaged me. Like, I've been wildly inconsistent. I've been a good guy. I've been a bad guy. Even Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen's been messing with his mind. So like, I want him to come back, like, not absolved of his past indiscretions, but like realizing that he's never been himself. And like, now he's just asserting, and you find out he's like a capable leader. He's a good guy and everything like that. Maybe even starts to heal and could control his eye blast without being around the telepaths. But I don't know. What do you think of that story?
Oh, it sounds good. Cyclops is one of those characters where I read the character as issues were coming out, and I kind of like Cyclops. And then I went back to reading old X-Men. I think issue 24 is the earliest one I bought, and I went from there forward. And reading the old stories with Cyclops in them, it just made me hate him. I hated him after reading the old stories, just because he was so indecisive. He's like, "Should I do this?" And he's always thinking, "Oh, should I talk to her? Should I do that?" And I'm thinking, just talk to the woman. God almighty.
That's because telepaths were messing with his brain. That's I need a telepath to tell me what to do. Yeah. And I think I was talking about this, was it last night, that certain superpowers just prone to abuse. Telepathy, mind control. If you have mind control and telepathy, it's only a matter of time before you become unsavory at best, bad guy at worst. RJ, are you familiar with the Canadian characters Nelvana and Mr. Monster?
Mr. Monster, yes. I'm not sure about Nelvana.
Nelvana is, I think, the first Canadian comic book character. She was created whole cloth. I forget the guy's name. I actually have a hardcover of her in this stack right over here, but I'm not going to get it out because everything will fall down. But she was created as, they made up the mythology. She's this goddess of like the icy waste of the northern lights and stuff like that.
Yes. Okay. Now that is ringing some bells. I've seen pictures of the character and some books about the character on, I can't remember, Comic Book Database or something like that, but that was about it. I haven't read anything exclusive or intensive about it, but Mr. Monster, yeah.
And then yeah, the original Mr. Monster was Canadian, and then uh, uh, Michael T. Gilbert kind of homaged the character. But Nelvana is public domain now, and John Bird used her as the mother for Snowbird in Alpha Flight. So if you read Alpha Flight, her mother's name is Nelvana, and she's the goddess of the
Northern Lights.
Right, and that was his homage to the first Canadian superhero. Does Marvel still have Wolverine, Cyclops, I don't even know. I don't want, and that's another thing. We could explain that as he's been manipulated by telepaths. She did it to Bobby Drake. She's doing it to everybody. The recent run of main X-Men books, Exodus Cyclops with a small team in Alaska. Oh, there you go. They're stealing my ideas. They watch my channel. Yeah, John, we'll agree with you on that. Can't believe the X-Men forgave him for all that. But then again, Hope forgave Bishop who's been trying to kill. Yeah, I know. I find it funny. Like, RJ, me and you go to a bar and you turn around and punch me in the face and then over politics. You know what I mean? I believe in progressivism and I believe in conservative. And me and you battle each other, like strangling each other. And then next month we're best friends. I just described Captain America and Iron Man to you in Civil War. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I can't be friends with somebody after they tried to murder me over politics. You know, like I got family members that voted for Obama. I don't want to go to lunch with them. You know what I mean? Much less try to murder me. So I find that funny that superheroes, I accept the two superheroes meet each other for the first time and they don't know who's a good guy and they battle and then they realize we're on the same team and then they take out the Red Skull together. That's fun. But like Civil War to me was just like, guys, this irreparably harms Marvel's continuity. Captain America and Iron Man can't be friends ever again. You know,
I would agree with you, John. I've been with some guys who are friends of mine, and we were drinking, going to bars, and they got me in a bar fight, and it was like, I'm done going out with you guys. I'm just done. I'm not going out with you guys again.
I got into this like weird group of friends, like I guess around 19 or so. All of a sudden, we got into drinking. Like, you know, all my friends were all comic book nerds, Dungeons and Dragons, and then I got into this drinking phase, and I started hanging out with these drinking guys, and we would go out and park the car behind the supermarket, and drink because we couldn't go to bars, and we're drinking and everything. And one of the guys would get drunk and fist fight us, and I was just like, I don't want to hang out anymore. And they're like, well, I'm like, this guy, and like, oh, we don't like him either. We don't like. So we literally broke up with one of our friends. Like, we picked him up. We drove to where we were going to go drinking, and we're like, Tucker, we don't want to hang out with you anymore. And they're like, what? Yeah, we don't. All you do is fight. It was funny. Like and then we drove him off in front of his house. You know what I mean? Like we broke up. I broke up with, but like because he punched us. Captain America and Iron Man, they were shooting laser beams at each other, throwing bombs at each other. How can they be friends? Yeah, I forgot Psylocke. Yeah, she was also another telepath that messed with Cyclops. There is a problem a lot of series have. They give a character some development, a partially happy ending, and then if the series continued, they have to undo it like I said it before a few times, like World War Hulk is the last Hulk story. How do you go back to status quo? He came back from space, pissed off at everybody, was knocking down buildings in Manhattan. He must have killed more New Yorkers than Bin Laden, and now he's just happy-go-lucky Hulk again. Like that is the last. Like that to me, that should have been an out of continuity story. Once you change the status quo too much, you can't go back.
I honestly think that Marvel did us a favor in two different ways. One of them being that they tried to switch out the characters for legacy characters or something else. I think that if there is going to be a future comic company that's a great comic company, they're going to have to take a page out of something like The Boys or things like that, which I don't like, but they're going to have to kill people. They're going to have to kill characters, and they're going to have to be just dead, and then they're going to have to move on. Because even if you get great characters, the fact that they tried to replace Hulk, tried to replace Iron Man and everybody else, yeah, sure, that's what they should have done a long time ago, but they just shouldn't have done it with those characters that they replaced them with. I would have read a Spider-Man story where his daughter becomes Spider-Woman, and
right.
It was an actual legacy transfer of a good character, and it started it over again. That would have been, if it was good stories, I would have gone with it.
Right. Yeah. Green Lanterns kind of came and went, even though they always come back. But yeah, I agree with you. And Cyclops did hook up with Lee Forrester. She was my favorite girlfriend for Cyclops. I don't know why. I always liked that character. Plus, there is now a plot hole with the X-Men now, them being reborn. Why can't Cyclops? Right. Somebody pointed that out to me, and I was like, I never thought of it because I don't read. But in the X-Men now, they go to the island Krakatoa, and it grows them new bodies, and it somehow they transfer their souls back into. So literally, like younger X-Men will like throw themselves off cliffs just to die and come back as a thrill. So the X-Men, like, and now, so what? Like, what are they going to do? They're going to go back to fighting bank robbers? Like, you can't do that. And then, like you said, why didn't they fix Cyclops' problem, his brain damage? He shouldn't need his glasses anymore. Now he could be Biclops because he would have two eyes.
And that's the thing. The explanation for that was that they had to give instructions if they wanted a change done to their DNA before they died, so that the next edition of them would get repaired in some way. How would Cyclops not say, okay, I want to have control of my power?
Right. How or Rogue? I don't want to have this weakness. I want to be able to control it, so she could like hug people and kiss people, and do other things with people. Would you agree that on the day Jean Grey's telepathic abilities were activated, she went insane in her encounter with the help? Yes. Tony, I said this a million times. People are probably rolling their eyes. John's Longbox just repeats himself. But the whole concept of the mythological phoenix is it's an egg. It cracks open. It grows up. It gets to the height of its powers, and then it burns itself. It explodes, burns it, and turns into dust, and then reforms itself from its ashes. That's what Jean Grey took that name. So she should have died. And that's the same. And she starts out weak, comes out of the egg, she hatches, she gets her powers, she gets overwhelmed by her powers, she turns into Dark Phoenix, and then she dies. And nothing can stop it. The best you could do is be warned about it. Like, I think that would make, like, they love her, but they're like, half the time she's going to be evil. We got to prepare for that, and already she's weaving her Dark Phoenix abilities out, and messing with Cyclops. They did.
That would be a really good story element to add into, I don't know, your story or my stories or something like that. But if you have rebirth of a character, have it reborn with a different soul, because it's like, or there's, ghosts or something like that. It would inhabit the body, because it's like that person's dead. You just resurrecting the body. This spirit inside them is not the same one.
Yeah, I'm believe it or not, it'll probably never get into my comic book, but I have like there's a race, an alien race. They were like, I was trying to come up with like a Green Lantern Corps or something like that. So in my universe, like I said, it'll probably never get to a comic book, but the RAS, the RAAS, they were benevolent reptilian creatures that were just nice and kind and were sharing their technology with the rest of the galaxy. And by far, they were the most advanced race. And one of the things they stumbled upon was transporter technology, like Star Trek. And they beamed, and they were logic and science, not faith, So when they beamed, they were literally destroying their bodies and being recreated, but without souls. Their souls were just, but they didn't believe in souls. And what in my world, one of the things about souls is it's not just your connection to the divine, but it also protects you against demonic forces and stuff. So these beings, over like a century or so, these demonic forces started to realize, hey, we could grab these Ross people real easy. They don't have any spiritual defenses. And the most benevolent race of advanced beings became a bloody terror, because now they're demons with sci-fi demons. And they're just, so all of these other races that were gifted technology, they had to band together, and they formed like an interstellar Green Lantern Corps. I don't want to, because if I do tell the story, you won't be surprised. But so there was like an intergalactic dark age for like 10,000 years, because these two, the Ross and then all of the Confederacy had to deal with them and put them back, and then Earth developed in that time of peace. But now it's, the interstellar races are exploring again. So yeah, I have a whole galaxy of politics in my comic book. So if I got to get to like issue 100 so I can talk about this stuff. But yeah, what do you think? Here's the question I ask people: do you think the Star Trek teleporters killed Kirk and rebuild a body? Like,
Well, we'll give suspension of disbelief to the fact that in universe they explain it away as not doing that. But to me, I would never step into a transporter. Never. If they created such a thing, it was like, nope, not a chance in the hell you're getting me into that.
right? Like they need to. Maybe they did in the later series, but they need to explain that this soul is also transferred. You know, they
That's
did
one of the questions McCoy kept on asking. What
right.
happens to a man's soul when you get his atoms scattered all over the universe?
Alex said, among my various projects, I'm working on a D&D high fantasy world. Do you have any world building tips? I'll give you the advice that somebody gave to me, and I think that they were spot on. Nobody cares about your world unless they care about the characters. So, like, The Hobbit was J.R.R. Tolkien wrote everything from the beginning of the world to the Daggerath, the ending of the world, and he knew the genealogies and the lineages of all these people, and then he wrote The Hobbit, which just made us care about that Bilbo. You know what I mean? But we loved it because it lived in a world that Tolkien could explain, because he knew every aspect of the world, and he released it slowly over time. You know what I mean? That's what I would recommend. And again, consider your source. I'm a guy with 2 comic books out that sell okay. You know, a pro would laugh at my sales, but that's my advice. Nobody cares about your grand world unless they care about the 3 or 4 people that you're telling me a story about first. I'll get invested in your world if I like your characters. What do you think, RJ? Did we lose RJ? We lost RJ. Maybe he'll come back. RJ, who's your favorite Flash? Mine's Jay Garrick. Mine is Jay Garrick also. I think RJ's, he's flickering behind.
You hear me?
Yeah. You okay?
Sorry. Yeah, I was just scratching and my mic came off. My favorite would be Wally West, quite honestly. I love Wally West.
Did you hear my answer about this world building?
Yeah, no, world building. Yeah, I love world building. I have pages and pages of world building, but you're absolutely right. It's like you're building the world for you. And the fact that you do it is to have parts of questions unanswered so that you can, have a better experience with your character.
Mentoring is admirable, but physical descendants taking that. Yeah, either way. Shakespeare had a son and he didn't write plays. You know what I mean? Like, just because you have a kid doesn't mean they automatically become Captain America Jr. They also did a World War She-Hulk probably worse than World War. Well, I liked World War Hulk. I thought it was a great story. The problem is, how do you go back from that? There's like, they did a story in the mid '90s where Hulk freaked out on an airplane and caused the destruction of the airplane. And all I could think of is he killed more people than Mr. Hyde. The Hulk's villain, Mr. Hyde. Everybody agrees he's a bad guy, but did he kill 12? Did he kill 300 people? And he's an irredeemable bad guy. The Hulk killed 300 people on the. They made no bones about it. He caused this airplane to crash. A full, what is it, DC-7 or 747? I don't know what plane it was. You can't go back from that, So, now I'm on Thunderbolt Ross's side. We got to get that Hulk. How is She-Hulk alive? Hulk had left 100-ton plus, and he almost thought about She-Hulk can only. Oh, what's going on? Is there something that I missed? Yeah. I remember that John Byrne said that She-Hulk, when she first turns into She-Hulk, she's actually stronger than the Hulk, but she stays at the same level, whereas the Hulk starts out over here, but then he far surpasses her. So, there's always a little bit of wiggle room. Watch them do a World War She-Hulk after Planet She-Hulk like they did for the Hulk. Yeah, how many Secret Wars are they going to do? That's one of my big pet peeves, RJ, is when they reboot and then they start telling, like, oh, we're going to do a new reboot of the Legion of Superheroes. Here's the new Great Darkness Saga. I'm like, come on, I read this 3 times. The first one was awesome. Make up new stories. Did we lose you again, RJ?
No, I'm here. You're absolutely right. Is just, although I have to say, there's one point I disagree with John on. I really think that the
Goodbye,
reboot,
night, everybody.
the reboot, the '90s reboot of Legion of Superheroes, after the Keith Giffen ending of the world where Earth gets destroyed, and they do clones of the Legion of Superheroes, which becomes Legion, and they have their own book. I love that series.
Yeah, I loved it too. I'm just saying, like, they don't have to tell the same. Marvel's starting all over again. I guess they're gonna have to do the Galactus comes to Earth story again, and the Silver Surfer saves us, and all they have to touch all the major big stories. It's like you reboot again, tell all new stories, start a new legend. When they rebooted DC for the New 52, Jeff Jones said, "I'm not doing this Rainbow Saga over again. I did it already." So if you notice, that's the only one that really didn't get rebooted. Right? You can't go back from making Captain America to Captain Hydra. You know what I mean? They ruined the character as far as I'm concerned. Yep.
Same with Black Widow, and making her a clone of a clone of a clone of a clone is like, nope, done.
Yeah. I still blame Jean Grey for the abuse of Iceman. Yeah, me too. As far as I'm concerned, she was on a power trip and decided to subject Bobby Drake. Yeah, I told you I have a story that will fix Marvel, and and one of the things is like Bobby Drake's just like, "You made me gay. Oh my God, I gotta go wash my mouth out. What you made me do?" It would be funny. Yep. RJ and John, Ryan Banks. In Solo Legion, my heroes kill villains and those people stay dead permanently. The demon spirit leaves that dead villain, then finds a new host to become. Okay, so there's a demon that inhabits people. So let me ask you then, Ryan, if Captain America kills the Red Skull and then they find out that it was a demon inhabiting the Red Skull, is Captain America a murderer? Is the body of the Red Skull, is the person who was the Red Skull, is he a victim? You know what I mean? So, but those are cool questions to ask in your comic book. Are the superheroes like, oh my God, we've been killing possessed? Do they know that they're killing demon-possessed people? And if they knew they were demon-possessed people, would they use like spiritual means to exercise instead? These are just from that one sentence. You gave me a whole bunch of interesting questions about your comic book, and that's great. RJ, if I'm going fast and not giving you a chance to talk,
Yeah.
World War She-Hulk was in 2021. I didn't read it in the Avengers, but yeah, right now they're publishing Planet She-Hulk. And they can have Captain Hydra She-Hulk. They're just ripping each other. That's because they chased out all. There's no incentive for talented people to work for Marvel anymore. There's no royalties. There's no high pay. You don't get, if they turn it into a movie, you don't get anything other than like tickets if you're lucky. So, why would they get talented people to work for Marvel anymore? I think they'd ever retcon that Captain America is still Cosmic Cube Cap, while Captain Hydra is the real Cap. I don't know. I stopped reading Marvel in 2015. I lost my internet since midnight. Tell me everything I missed. Okay, so apparently Trump is Hitler. He's going to forcibly take Greenland, not talk to anybody, not negotiate, just forcibly take it. I don't know. Gavin Newsom is the only one who could save us. This is all according to the internet. What would I do with the Hulks as they become more powerful, but their vices get stronger? For Hulk, anger, wrath, the leader, pride. That's a good idea. I have a Hulk analog in my role-playing games called The Rage. And, just like D&D, you have a stat for intelligence. So he decides I need to burn a point of intelligence to up my strength. So he, you know what I mean? He's sacrificing intelligence for strength, and consequently, the dumber he gets, the quicker he is to give up his intelligence to get stronger. So he's like, he knows that once his intelligence goes a little bit below average human, there's almost no turning back. He needs to actually be knocked out or fall asleep to get everything to go back.
I honestly think that they could have done such a really good She-Hulk story, and even the quote unquote progressive people that were writing it, like Marika Tamaki, they could have done a really good story that would align a little bit with their ideology. Even is the fact that if you had She-Hulk and you left her this beautiful model and you tied in something like the Hulk and had her be have her had some kind of trauma from childhood, which is why she's always pursuing, these vain things, and it has to be the most beautiful and all this kinds of things. Like, tie that in and then put it into the fact that this is why she is actually, pursuing, I want to be the most beautiful, all this kind of stuff. That would have been a good story, and they could have done it.
Right. Jennifer Walters was like an egghead lawyer, plain looking girl, flat chested. And now she's va-va-va-voom chick. That is a really good idea. And then what you could have said, like the leader, what was he, like a janitor, and people made fun of him for being stupid. So the gamma radiation made him super intelligent, to overcompensate for being the dumb kid. That's kind of fascinating. Like the gamma radiation, because Doc Samson even said that he became the gamma radiation made him the dashing superhero that he always wanted to be, instead of the shy bookworm. That's a good story. Yeah, I didn't think about that for She-Hulk. And this Muslim Miss what's her name, Miss Marvel. I hate to agree with your boy Zach after he went crazy, but he's right. They should have had stories where she starts dating like American boys, and her real strict Muslim family starts like, no, you can't do that. But they can't show these Muslim people in any bad light, when I think it's okay. So she's a Muslim girl. All right, let's do Muslim type stories. It's haram to date these guys, but she wants to date these guys because she's an American, but her family's from Pakistan. That's drama right there. That would have been really good storytelling. But no. Everything has to be fine and dandy. If you're brown, you're perfect. Same as how Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel have not been held accountable. Yep, you got that. There's no consequences. But I said the left is indulgence, the right is consequences. I know RJ is going to say this. RJ, what are your thoughts on Alan Moore's Miracle Man, Marvel Man?
I do not like Alan Moore.
Yeah.
Let's just put it at that. I will go on a tirade for an hour if you want me to talk about Alan Moore. I do not like Alan Moore. He recreated Captain Britain and he redefined the entire Marvel universe through that British comic with the whole 616 or 626, whatever. But he's brilliant, but he's just, I don't know. As a storyteller, he irks me. I got a soft spot for Alan, but I'm, to each their own. I totally understand why people. I would love to get him on my channel and actually talk to him. I don't understand the Silent Hill. They look like monsters to you. Is this a video game, or are you answering somebody? I don't understand. RJ and John, the heroes of Solar Legions also die occasionally, and they stay dead indefinitely, but are resurrected by the creator. Okay, where is this comic out? And I recognize your name. Do I have something by you? Do I have a book? I'm looking over here. I'm thinking, do you have a novel out, or am I mistaken? What's the topic tonight? Zayn, this is the topic. We're just rambling. And if, RJ, would you mind if Phil Diaz came in? Phil, if you're free, if you want to come in, I'll send you an invite. Yeah, I might as well.
Yeah, he's really interesting. I'm real impressed by. And plus, I just noticed you sent me some artwork.
Yes, that's one of the new pages for Fade to Blue. That's book 3. If you wanted to show it,
sure.
It's just I'm super impressed with my artist for this, and his black and white. His skills with black and white is great, and that's why we're doing it in the 30s and all that kind of stuff. Okay. We got mobsters. We got You inspired me a little bit with the mobster story with your whole Heroic Tales #1. I got to put them. So in the 3rd issue of Fade to Blue, he ends up in Chicago, and this is 1931, right? So, and you got your beautiful sidekick woman here, but she's not sidekick to one of the mobsters. But anyways.
Oh, she's a good guy?
No, she's not a good guy. The mobsters are just because this is Chicago and things are going on. But the woman is the henchman of the main villain for the first 3 books at the very least.
I see she's using some cool weaponry. Cool. I liked it. I really like that second panel of the woman with the whip is just so good. Yeah, I'm waiting. I can't wait for this. I might as well put you sent me your link. And where's private chat? So I will put this in the public chat, copy link, and I will throw this out there. So this is Fade to Blue. This is not available yet, right?
No, we're still. I want to get the first 3 books all done. We're on. This is chapter 2 of the 3rd book. They're only floppies, but we're trying to get the 3 done before we actually put them out there.
I got a super chat. I'll talk about the super chat in a second. Before, but I think you inspired me. Since we're talking about inspired people, I'm giving myself a challenge. I want to do a Christmas story and have it in people's hands by Christmas this year. So I was talking with Renzo if that's possible. So I wrote a 15-page solo King Fu story. King Fu, you learn a little bit of backstory about King Fu, but not a lot. King Fu was a Marine before he was King Fu, and he gets asked by the Marine Corps to go and rescue an MIA from the Vietnam conflict war, whatever you want to call it. He actually goes to Laos. There was a whole operation, a secret operation where we invaded Laos and nobody was supposed to know about it. And it's touchy. That's why the guy's been left there. So he goes to get him. And for reasons that you will see, it can only be done on Christmas Eve. So it's the flimsiest of tie-ins for Christmas, but I had to call it Blue Christmas because it's an Elvis song. But it's 15 pages, so it has to be. So I'm going to put like a one page of dossier of the military, 16-page comic book. Because you did like short floppies, you split up some of your you saying that this might be a real short floppy. I was like,
well, these are 32-page. But
oh, okay, I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about like 15, 16-page comics or something like that.
No. Each of these are 32. Normal floppy size, basically. You got, well, let me see. I can't remember. Yeah, we got 8-page chapters for each. So that's all, I never think of it in terms of the full floppy. So you have 8-page chapters. I'm trying to go back to an older style here, just because,
I think that's what when you said 8-page chapters, I was thinking, okay. But anyway, you inspired me, even though I misinterpreted it. So I want to try to make like well, I know Phil Diaz, Zaid is he's doing smaller comics, So I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to do that, and then for the next 3, I have 2 more Christmas stories. So maybe every 3 years I'll make one big comic with all my Christmas stories. So for those of you who are interested, this year it's King Fu, Blue Christmas. Next year it's The 3 Wise Men, The Secret History of the 3 Wise Men, and then the 3rd Christmas it's going to be the patriarch. Santa Claus visits the patriarch's family, and you're going to learn the secret of why Santa Claus comes to some houses and doesn't go to other houses. It has nothing to do with being Muslim, Christian, or Christian, yeah. But you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, he's Jewish, we're not going there. If you're a Jew and you did it correctly, Santa Claus will come to your house. What do you think of this new hard subliminal space? I have no idea what that means. Let me know what that means. Sounds interesting. Do you know what that means? Oh, there's a super chat that I don't want to ignore. RRTNZ for 10 New Zealand dollars. Avengers Doomsday faces the greatest opportunity of all, audience apathy. Currently, I don't give a poop, much less 2 poops, no matter what spectacle is promised. My interest in the MCU is an all-time low. Yeah, I got to say, if I hated the MCU, I would be more interested in it than I am now, which is I'm apathetic to it. Apathy is death. Like in high school, if you could get a girl to hate you, that was an in. She has feelings for you. Those feelings are hate. But if a girl is apathetic towards you, you're doomed. You do not have a chance. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. What do you think, RJ?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's just psychological 101. You want to really get rid of somebody, you ignore them.
The people who become villains choose to embrace evil and become a host for that demon. Imagine Joker being killed by Batman, then having a new person become Joker. Oh, okay, I like it. I also have a demon story. Again, I gotta do 100 comics to get all these ideas out. But I have, like I said, this alien race possessed. So demon possession is a real thing in my comics. And I'd like, as a matter of fact, tomorrow at noon, Cooper, Telepathic Bunny, and myself are going to do what we call theology, where we take religious issues and talk about them. RJ, you're always invited. And tomorrow we're going to talk about Jesus as an exorcist, because this is so funny because I'm real interested in. I've always been interested in demonic possession and stuff like that. It's just the whole concept of losing your identity is the scariest thing to me. Like dementia is the scariest thing to me. I'll never watch The Notebook. To me, that's not a romantic movie. That's a horror movie. I'm reading Top 10 right now. Okay, Top 10, the Alan Moore comic. That's funny. 100%. Somebody's agreeing with me. I don't remember why. A true hero's journey is discovering how much you and everyone else should have accepted you as you were all along. The true journey was accepting my own self.
I sent you another piece of art here, John. We're talking about demons, and this is one of the images from Crom the Destroyer, the end of chapter 1.
This character's break. This is Nick Axe's art, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Let me. Yeah. I can't wait for this.
We're working on it, guys. We're still working. I apologize for how late it is, but we're still working on it.
I asked Nick if you wanted to do my Santa Claus book, but I can't afford Nick. I can't afford Nick, So, but he's worth it. He's worth it. I think he's a phenomenal artist. A little crazy in the head, but a phenomenal artist. But look at that. I can't wait. I can't wait to see that in full color. Are you doing a black and white end of color version of this?
Yep. The artist version is going to be black and white.
Yeah, I think I need to get both. So Zach Tan's asking, is Fade to Blue available yet?
No, it isn't. We're still working on book 3. Like I said, I want to have all books ready and done before we have it put out there into the world. It'll just be because I want to do a digital version of it as well. So it's going to be, you can buy it right away if you want, and you have a digital version.
Oh, I forgot. I was leading up to this question, and then I didn't ask the question. Chat, we've got a bunch of people. I assume most of the people watching this are my backers. Are you interested in a 16-page comic solo story? Because that's really the only way I could do it this quick. Is to do a 16-page story. Renzo did a 12-page story. We did it for somebody else's comic, and he did it really, really quick. And I want Renzo to do King Fu. So let me know in the chat if, I don't know what price. I mean, I know how much it costs to make a 16-page comic, but what do you guys think is a good value?
What the funny thing is, if you're going to have Renzo do it, Renzo's early style, like his really early style when he started, was very cartoony. He can go back to cartoony. And I think King Fu is one of those characters where you could put in a couple of panels where he looks really silly.
Yeah, but this it's a military adventure, Yeah. Do you think of this new horror? Oh, I already saw that. King Fu. People see, I got to strike while the iron is hot. People like King Fu. Oh, he's cutting his trailer now, so he can't come in. Have a King Fu Christmas. By the way, Classy to me is my alt for some reason, even though I'm logged in as Calliope. My comments are showing up as Classy to me. Okay, nice to meet you. Thank you for showing up.
John, if you have this book done by Christmas and it is sold at Christmas, you need to do Christmas ornaments. You need to do just plastic Christmas ornaments that will survive the mail, but you can ship them out. They're nice and light.
Oh my God. King Fu balls.
Yep.
Or stocking. Oh my God, that is a great idea. If anybody knows, if Phil Diaz doesn't know how to make Christmas ornaments, nobody knows. That guy is so so let me know. Hey, Dave Brink is here. Check out David Brink's comics. Perfect 10.
Perfect 10.
It's such a good comic, so good, such good art. This guy is doing it right. And he gets embarrassed when I say this, but he's inspiring me. I have a character that I just had I was writing the story, and then I put it on the side because I had to do this King Fu story first to get it done. And then when I went back, I said, I got a new beginning for it, and it really made it work. But anyway, that whole story is inspired by Dave Brink's character, Perfect 10. You'll see when it comes out. Basically, it's a naked chick. I know it. I'm joking.
I would go with Dave. Yeah.
Oh, Dave, because Perfect 10 started out like she came out with the tube, so she gets attacked while in let's just say in a delicate position. I was agreeing about my apathy for the MCU. Yes, I literally don't care. And they did the work. I'm glad that they're course correcting and they're bringing back like Steve Rogers and all that stuff. But the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is Doctor Doom and he comes from another dimension, I don't care. Once I find out that it's an alternate version, I just don't care. That just means no consequences to me. You know. Good morning. And they basically wasted all their time with Kang. You know, liminal spaces are basically environments equivalent to the uncanny valley. Okay, I know what the uncanny so it's. I got to look it up because I don't think I quite understand. But I don't know. That sentence is very creepy, so it sounds very scary. Do you know what liminal spaces are, RJ?
No, off the top of my head, no.
I don't know. It sounds something creepy. I'm going to get some sleep. Good night. Yeah, good night, Zach Tan. Good night, Zach Tan. Violent Comics. Can I see her nips in that drawing? If you're a good boy, yeah. What is King Fu? Okay, Violent Comics wants to know. I will show you King Fu. Oh, that's not King Fu, but while I'm looking for King Fu, you can decide whether or not you can see her nips. So I'm summoning. Yeah, my computer. RJ and I were just talking that my computer is on borrowed time right now. Why is this?
If you're wondering about the change of clothes in this panel, if I remember correctly, I think what Nick was doing was she's transforming and she's going from one version of herself to the other, and one of them has on basically, you know, this is a Conan style book, so she's basically in a Conan bikini kind of thing, right? So
yeah, it's barbarian times. Barbarian times.
They didn't have a lot of money for clothes back then. You know, they had to take what they got.
Right. I don't know why, but my Google Drive is not. Oh, there it goes. I thought my computer was dying live on YouTube. Oh, come on. But anyway, King Fu is one of my characters. He's the world's greatest martial artist and Elvis impersonator. What is okay? There we go. It's asking me a new way. Of course, it's asking me a new way to sign in to my Google. I understand that we need to be protected, but don't change it. I'm almost 60 years old, guys. I don't adapt to new things well. What is
what is the name of the guy that King Fu is based off of? Used to be the on the back of comics they had in the 70s. He was in Marvel Comics. What the heck? Advertisement. Yes.
Yeah. Countdown. I cannot get into my. This is driving me crazy. I cannot get into my Google Drive right now. I don't know what's going on, and I'm about to smash everything. But and now my computer's frozen. Can you hear me? Am I talking?
Yep.
Okay. I don't know what's going on, but I think I don't know how to get a picture of King Fu unless okay, I can do this. Keep talking. I'll do something. But King Fu is it's an NPC. I played a role-playing game, Village Vigilantes, and I made up a character called King Fu. It came from Elvis Presley. Gave us he was talking about a story about Elvis Presley. He went to his barber and he said to his barber, "I want my hair to look like this," and he had Captain Marvel Jr. So I was thinking, you know, Elvis, and then Elvis is doing the karate chops and he has that cape and everything like that. So I just thought, like, oh, that's a superhero, like the King does kung fu, King Fu. So I made Kenny Kim the world's greatest martial artist and Elvis impersonator, and I kind of made him as a joke in my role-playing games. But all my players, they would be like, okay, the bad guy's attacking, we need King Fu, and like they would go out of their way to get King Fu involved in the adventure. And I realized people liked them, so I added them into my comic book, and now people are asking more and more about him. So I'm like, okay, got to strike while the iron's hot and get King Fu. All right, I got a picture of him now, but how am I going to get this? Okay, I'll do this. So a lot of people have been like, I want more King Fu. So what's his name? Richard C. Meyer was like, he did Jawbreakers and then followed it up with a bunch of stuff nobody cared about. So I was like, I don't want to do that. So I will make a character people care about. So that's King Fu. This is going to be in giant-sized punchline #1 by Bill. So this is him in another comic. I wrote, Renzo drew, and Oscar colored. So there he is fighting alien abomination. A lot of comments. John, near the end of the game Silent Hill, when the protagonist has just destroyed many monsters, the character tips everything on its head by asking, do they look like monsters to you? Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't play video game. You could add an extra short story or pin-up section to the 14-page story to get a full book. Yeah. We could 3D print them. I forgot what. Ornaments. You could 3D print ornaments. Okay, I didn't even think about that. My friend has like 3 or 4 3D printers. He's constantly 3D printing. Oh, another King Fu. Did you just do this?
Yep, I sent you a picture of King Fu.
Oh, wait. Okay, cool. This is the card that I got to see why I can't get into my Google Drive right now. I hate to think I got hacked, but this is the card that you could get with Hero Tales too. So that's King Fu, the Tennessee Dragon. The idea of the deal with the devil is narrative proof that the fact that Christianity is the only religion to recognize free will. That's a good point. What do you think about that, RJ? You're the theologian here.
Well, that's a deep question, because the free will in Christianity is connected to something which most people will reject wholeheartedly today, which is the fact that you give your will all, you have free will, and then you give it all over to God. So you try to enter that into the conversation with people, even conservatives, and they're like, no, I don't know if I want to do that.
It is the most uncomfortable thing in the world. Especially, you know what I mean? Think about it. It's not easy. It's not. So I understand people being hesitant. You know what I mean? But it is difficult. And I'm not saying don't do it either. I'm just saying I understand the hesitancy. It's but that's what faith is all about, right? That's literally the definition of faith. And yes, King Fu is a joke on Elvis knowing martial arts. Yes, he in the Blue Christmas special, he actually tells the woman that's with him, here, hold these glasses. Priscilla gave them to me last year when I met her at Graceland. He's gonna get into a fight and he's worried about breaking his Elvis glasses. The comic I bought from a Dollar Tree for $1.25 actually has 22 pages. No ads either. I can't do a comic for $1.25, guys. No way. I just kick me out of my house. The bank come and close down my house. Liminal space has been used a lot in back rooms, if you know what that. Yeah, I got to look it up. Who doesn't like the idea of naked women in comics? I'll tell you who. The left. They like naked women in comics, provided those women are men. So, if it's gorgeous women, then the left don't like naked women. I could fix her. Yep. Doing the Sailor Moon transformation. Yes. Who does King Fu fight? You'll see in Blue Christmas, and he's fighting this gigantic eldritch terror in giant size punchline #1. The campaign for it will be in Bill Williams' campaign. I will be promoting the hell out of it, and then it'll be in comic book stores this summer.
You should have King Fu. You should have a rival for King Fu that's based off of Sinatra, because Sinatra and Elvis really didn't like each other.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I didn't know that. That's interesting. That's interesting. Liminal spaces are places that appear to be safe but feel wrong. Okay, as if they were created by aliens who don't feel. Oh, that is scary. Okay, I think I intrinsically knew that or instinctively knew that, and it's funny because I've experienced that in real life. You just like, we shouldn't be here. Have you ever had that, RJ?
Oh yeah,
it's
definitely.
It's almost like a deja vu, but like a danger sense. Like, no, we got to leave.
Oh, yeah, it happened to me like last week. My spidey senses started tingling, and I was like, something's wrong here.
Yeah. That's a good way to put. Does King Fu get a lot of chicks and kick a lot of ass? That's what he does, man. That's what King Fu does. Heroic Tales 3, he meets Mary Sue, and Rini from Fiendish is going to do the variant cover, and it's going to be a romance cover, and I already know it's going to say, King Fu, Mary Sue, will she love him tender, or will she put him in Heartbreak Hotel? we want to do like a mock-up of a romance cover. King Fu is a great design, so much fun. It's funny about this design because I drew this picture and I sent it to Renzo, and he made it good instead of abysmal like I could drew. But he had a white outfit in gold lame, and Oscar's like, no, I'm coloring them green and gold, like Iron Fist. And I was like, but I'm the boss. And Oscar's like, no. Oh, and he colored it like this, and then I'm like, yeah, that Oscar's right. That's what he looks like. It works. Now I think of him in white, and it wouldn't have looked as cool. So there's a reason why a colorist is a colorist. They understand color better, right?
Oh, definitely.
Have you heard that James Gunn has hired the screenwriter of the Flash film to write the new Batman film? Have you also heard the superhero choose your own adventure game, Dispatch? Yeah, people keep asking me about Dispatch, and I got to check it out, but I don't know anything. I'm purposely not interested in pop culture anymore. Like, I'm officially an old man. Like, I just don't care. I'm interested in what RJ's doing, and and Aaron Sparrow's doing, and Brian Costello's doing, and David Brink is doing. But like, to me, the MCU and the DC, there hasn't been a good DC superhero movie in forever. So I don't care what they're doing. It's like Fast and Furious. Like, I haven't cared ever. So, did you hear the Fast and Furious is hired? Yeah, I don't care. Don't care. When was the last good DC superhero movie? They fundamentally got Superman wrong in Man of Steel. I just don't care. According to the MCU, there's no free will. It's all according to Kang's plans. I didn't watch any. I watched the first season of Loki, and I was like, oh wow, this is the Loki show, guest starring Loki, starring Sylvia, and I was done. King Fu is the result of a moment of creative brilliance. Thank you. The best characters just happened. Like, thank you so much. Coming from Dave Brink, who has so many great characters. Dave Brink is the only character that I get jealous of when he comes up with some names. I'm like, oh, that is so good. And then some of our names we actually overlap, and I ask him, like, I have a character called the Sleeper Agent. He has a character called the Sleeper, but they're so different. Nobody's ever going to get. His is a big, beautiful, buxom, blondish redhead. Mine is a guy who looks like he's strung out because he keeps taking pills to stay asleep. That reminds me of Magic transforming into Demon Child. Yes, if I know Nick Axe, he's probably evoking that because I think that's one of his favorite characters. Is the chat talking about Jack Murphy's Liminal Order? Are we? Oh my God, Frank Sinatra, Sinestro. So instead of Sinatra, we could call him Sinastro. Google parody now. It's funny that I was thinking of a story based on Bobby Darin, of all things. That because I literally have like 4 or 5 stories inspired by Bobby Darin songs. So I'm just like, what if Bobby Darin didn't realize it, but he was like channeling prophecies or something like that? This is the guy who I'm kind of fascinated with Bobby Darin. For those of you who don't know, Mac the Knife and Somewhere Beyond the Sea and stuff like that. But he, as a little kid, he predicted that he was going to die young. So he was frantically trying to get everything done with his life, which was become a movie star, become a singer, and have a #1 hit and everything like that. And then he died young, getting a botched heart surgery. So I don't know. I kind of think that would be like an interesting story to tell. I don't know. I don't know how I would work it into a superhero comic book, but RJ, do you have any like non-superhero stories that you kind of want to write?
Fade to Blue is not really a superhero story. Fade to Blue is more of a mystic kind of story and a detective story. He has a power, but he doesn't want it, and he tries to stay away from it as much as possible. He's basically doing detective work as this individual is trying to find out how he can help himself and not be consumed by what the heck's going on around him. So but there's that. Yeah,
world. It's in the 30s of your superhero.
Yes, world. Everything is in the same world. Everything I do is in the same world. Everything I do.
That's the question. Do you have everything? It's totally separate. It has nothing to do with your world. It's just this is an idea, and I don't want to fit it into my superhero world.
Nope, I have a way to fit everything into my superhero world. I have
like Eddie is Doomed originally was its own thing, and then I've worked a way to fit it into my superhero world. And now I'm glad I did because it inspired a bunch of other stories. Eddie is Doomed is a one-shot. I'm never coming back to it. But because of what I thought of to fit it in together, I had ideas that spawned other ideas. But I'm working with Matt Barr on a series of science fiction stories that are just self-contained science fiction stories, never to be referenced again. Kind of like creepy or eerie. You know what I mean? But it's going to be like weird sci-fi stories. Kind of
exactly. I have one like that. It's kind of it's one I wanted. I'm doing Artemis with the book Artemis I'm doing right now is with the manga artist from Japan. After we do that, hopefully he'll do another book with me, because I have one which is basically kind of like a very old style kung fu movie mixed with body horror. So it, when you got old style kung fu, it's kind of like a superpower, because some of the things they do in those things are not what a human being can do, but at the same time it's not really a superhero story. So yeah.
Besides the Flash movie, she also wrote Birds of Prey movie and talk about failing upwards is a big thing in Hollywood. Talk about that guy that made that movie The Room. That guy made the worst movie of all time, and people want to work with him. Or Ed Wood made the horrible movies, and he's a legend now. Or Roger Corman. Although I think Roger Corman, his claim to fame is he never made a movie that didn't make money, even if it's just $1, because he was I'll be nice. He was so efficient with his money. I'll be generous, because I do like it. Roger Corman. Have I seen the movie Bubba Hotep? Yes, I actually like that movie a lot. I'm so disappointed that they never followed it up. There was supposed to be a whole bunch of them. It was supposed to be the first in the series. Dispatch is a video game on stream. Yes, it is. It's like a superhero choose your own adventure game that everybody tells me I'm going to like. So I should try it out. Maybe play it on my channel or something.
I would say, just to throw this in here, I think Marvel Rivals is probably now making more money as a single game than all of Marvel Comics.
I wouldn't be surprised. Video games got more reach than comic books.
They just had a competition, a Marvel Rivals competition, where the prize was $40,000.
Wow, that is great. Phil Diaz says Marvel is fun AF. I haven't played it yet because I know I'll get addicted to it. I want to laugh at this. The electrician, superpower, good at fighting, can electrocute people. Flaws, random people. Starts a fight with him every time he's near public transport. If you read Geiger, Jeff Jones has a villain called the electrician, and I love that character. For those of you who don't know, that's my job. I'm an electrician, and I love it because I was watching the way his suit worked and everything. I think Jeff Johns did his electrical homework, and I'm currently writing a story about it's a funeral of the first World War II superhero. He's dead now of natural causes, and everybody comes out to pay his respects, and then they all go to his HQ and they're telling stories of him, and of course you recap his origins, stuff like that. His first fight was an electrical based villain, because I finally want to explain to people how you throwing water on an electrical based villain is the worst thing you could possibly do. But
you should make a manic, sort of depressed, psychotic character, kind of like Crazy Man, called the New Yorker.
Just call him John.
Yeah. He gets his powers from New York, and he has to follow what the people in New York. That's his mindset. It follows the majority of New Yorkers, right?
It's funny that you said that, because in my role playing game, I keep going back to that. My friend Michael, Michael has the Colonel Strong character who appears in my comics. He has the fed up New Yorker who just he puts on those clear masks that you see him in the Purge. They're just like clear masks.
Oh, yeah.
He wears that and a fedora, and he just beats up jaywalkers, people who walk too slow. And his name is John Q. Public. So I was like, I got to bring John Q. Public into a comic book. He's just he's not a good guy, but he ain't wrong. You're I can see why he's beating up that person, but maybe you shouldn't. I told you not to park in front of my house. This is the suburbs. Park in front of your own house. Frugal, that's the word. Frugal. Thank you.
You could blend the story of the the homeless chuds that you ran into peeing on your equipment into that.
That's real. That's a real thing, guys, ladies and gentlemen. You know, when we work in the subways and the tunnels, you got to give the homeless people money not to pee. It's a shakedown. Don't pee on our, because do you ever see those big green boxes that are just chained to things in the subway? Those are filled with our tools. I'm not carrying my tools down into the subway every day. We put them in a box. You know what I mean? And if they ever get stolen, it's, you know, I get reimbursed by work, but that sucks because it's going to take 2 months. So you got to buy them anyway. And then when you get reimbursed, what are you going to do? You know, so they'll pee on them. And you don't want your freaking canvas tool bag filled with pee, and then your tools are all rusted with pee and everything like that. So you got to bribe off the homeless people. It's just part of doing business in New York. Isn't New York great? You know, that is the warmth of collectivism right there. Literally, the warmth of collectivism is homeless people pee.
Somebody came up with a really good nickname for your new mayor. It's Zoran the Moron.
Yeah. And it's funny because I just read today that some state senator in Florida wants to pass the Mandani tax. That if you move from Florida to New York, you just charge 50 grand. Just to encourage people to stay in New York and vote better. I don't know. I don't like that when we start imposing limits on people's freedom of movement, but it's funny to me. John, I emailed you and sent you links last year to promote Solar Legion versus the Ice Giant, but you were busy, so we never. Oh, send it to me again. Email me at johnslongbox@yahoo.com or direct message me on Twitter, Zentorian2000. If you sent me digital files, I probably just didn't read them, but I really like the premise. Remind me who you are, and come on my channel. We'll talk about it. You know, you don't have to be a super pro to come on my channel. I mean, look at my guest right now. John, what was the diciest situation you've ever encountered on the subway? God's honest truth. Okay, I'll start with my best encounter on the subway. It was literally my first day of work. Okay, so this is me. I'm all bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. I got my tools. I'm going to work, but I'm also nervous because I don't quite know what to expect. And this beautiful woman gets on the subway in the tight yoga pants, the halter top, dripping with sweat. You know, it was August, and I'm leaning on the subway is empty. It's just me and her, and behind me is the map of the subway system. So she comes over and she's looking at the map. So it's just sweaty boobs in my face. Like I could have just leaned forward and my nose would have been in the space between, the liminal space between. So I'm like trying to be all, you know, polite and everything like that. And then the subway lurches and she literally boobs in my face. I have boob sweat in my face. And she just goes, sorry. And I go, you're welcome. Or I said, my pleasure. And she just started, and then she got off. And all I could think of, she did that on purpose. You know what I mean? Like there was nobody else on the subway. I was like, okay, this was like my baptism for work. This is part of my career 22 years ago. Boob sweat in my face. The diciest, not the worst thing, but I guess it was the worst thing, but it wasn't violent or anything. It was a naked black girl. And she looked underage, just sitting on the subway. And I'm not joking. She was naked. She was covered in feces. She had cuts on her. So I'm like, are you okay? Are you? And everybody's ignoring her. You know, this isn't empty. And I'm like, are you okay? And she's like, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. And I'm like, what are you looking at? I'm like, a naked black girl covered in feces. I mean, what am I supposed to ignore this? And she had a big box on her lap. So you couldn't really see anything. Not that I wanted to see anything, but it looked like a birthday present. It looked like a cartoon birthday present. There was a pink wrapping paper with red ribbons. And she's just holding this birthday. All I could think of was like Die Hard, you know, when he has that sign walking. And then a cat hand just comes out and starts hitting her in the head out of the box. And she's like, quit it. And I'm just like, this is unreal. This is New York in a nutshell. There's a naked girl with the birthday present box and a cat in the box, you know. So I was just like, do you need money? Do you need, you know? And she's like, don't talk to me. Don't. And I was like, all right, I got off the train. So that was the weirdest thing I've ever seen on the subway. Diciest thing. You know, characters of Marvel Rivals actually look attractive. I know. I remember when it first came out, people literally getting upset because like Emma Frost looks sexy. The thing that gets me mad is now there's all these fans of Emma Frost and they don't know her horrible past. She is one of the most vile characters to ever exist in Marvel Comics, and now everybody's like, man, like they're wearing T-shirts, going to family barbecues with White Queen on it. They don't realize that she's the Ghislaine Maxwell of Marvel. Am I talking too much, RJ? I always wonder.
No, I'm enjoying your stories, John.
The vegan whose family devoured by carnivorous plant. Then he decided to take revenge on all plants by devouring them. And to this spent year, there you go. I like that. That's a good character. John, why haven't you just purchased the rights to Villains Vigilantes? I believe under your stewardship, because I know for a fact that he will sell them. And, if I do a crowdfund, but it's 30 grand. It's 30 grand for a dead game. And I think you have to buy all the back stock too. And he's got like a warehouse of back stock. But I'll ask him and I'll put it in I would crowdfund it. I'm not taking out a 401k loan to buy Villains Vigilantes. My wife will start packing the bags right then and there. But if it's something affordable, I would love to. And I would put out a new edition. I would absolutely love to. And maybe it's something to ask Scott again. And here's a funny thing. Jeff D., the creator of Villains Vigilantes, will be on my channel Tuesday at noon. And me and him have had what's the word? Contentious relationship over the past 20 years. He threatened to sue me. So this will be fun. Plus, he's a crazy liberal. I'm working on a cyberpunk series for down the line after I wrap up the Lost Pages. Phil Diaz, that's the man behind this avatar. Forgive me if I just doxed you. Zaid Comics. He's the writer. I think his brother draws. And together, they print their own comics. They have a printer. They figured out how to work, and they're making newsprint comics. I'm so excited. The big wigs in the scene call us the Zeros, but look at the Zeros doing stuff. Literally creating their own comics, not just art. The comics, the paper themselves, like Alternate Comics. This guy's got his own press in his house. I imagine his wife must be like, Pete, what are you doing? I can't watch TV. I got a printing press in my house. It's for the comic book industry. What are these guys doing? They can't even get a comic book out every 5 years. But this guy is literally stapling comic books together in his living room with his brother. And they're great. The Man with No Strings, RJ, it's a good Western mystic freak out comic. It's so good. I can't wait. I could gush about Phil Diaz for the, and I was about to say something that would start a whole episode of Trashcast about me, so I'll keep my mouth shut. John, the adventures of subway service worker roaming through those tunnels and discovering monsters that would be, it would. It's sometimes it's sad, you find dead things down there, animals, people. RJ, what's your opinion on the job the Canadian Prime Minister is doing so far?
All he's doing is preventing the inevitable from happening, which is the collapse of everything. He's just slowing the ball down. That's all he's doing.
What I saw the other day that there was like hours-long lines in Alberta to start a referendum about leaving.
Oh yeah, they're going to have a referendum about whether or not they want to leave the country.
And what, form their own country or join the States?
That's up in the air. It's what they're going to do.
What are your thoughts on that?
They literally provide the money for the entire country to run. So it's a power play move to get more power. But it's worked before for Quebec over and over again for decades and decades. So, more power to them.
So his comic book people boosting each other. Dave, who makes one of my favorite comics, is saying that another one of my favorite comics is one of his guys. We don't blow smoke over here. Good comics. I want to get back to Alberta. Whenever people argue about the electoral college system of the United States,
oh yeah,
look at Canada. This is exactly why.
Exactly.
Alberta literally provides all the money for the freaking country, and it gets no representation because Vancouver and Toronto are where the population is. So Alberta is basically ignored. So it is the workhorse of the country, and it's ignored. And the people have a grievance. Am I correct about this? Canadian
population? Yeah, and they vote almost 90 to 95% conservative. Like when a conservative wins, he wins with 90% of the vote, and that's most of the province. And yet they can't get these people into any kind of position of power because the rest of the country votes them out of by with these large cities.
Right. So and the other people don't. They're spending money that they didn't generate. They're squandering the wealth that the Albertans create. And this is why, if Canada had electoral college, I think things would be a little bit better. And that's whenever I see people, we got to abandon the electoral college. It's like that's the Civil War then, because then we have New York and California dictating the rest of the country. And it drives me nuts. I thought the people elect the president. No, the states elect the president. Read your constitution.
Here's the thing. If anybody wants to know, part of the reason why Trump is doing what he's doing right now is because he wants to freeze out Canada because they're not playing ball. Right. So he has Venezuela now, so he doesn't need the crude oil from Alberta anymore. He can go to Venezuela and get it because that's what Texas is using. And if they get a hold of Greenland has the exact same amount of natural resources that Canada has, and they can move to it's a territory. We're getting it from Greenland instead of getting to Canada. Canada's just done, like dunzo. Right.
And not only that, if Trump does acquire Greenland, then that's 5 extra armies a turn. Did anybody get that risk reference? Then we complete North America. And it's funny because just today Trump said, and he goes, "We haven't forgot about you, Canada." I know. I was getting a little despondent about Trump, but this week he actually did some stuff that made me laugh. He told he's at the World Economic Forum at Davos right now, and he basically told him, "Don't let Gavin Newsom in." And then Gavin Newsom flies all the way out there, and the guards wouldn't let him in. It's so petty. I just think it's funny. It's so petty. It's great. RJ, have you ever read the works of Dante Alighieri?
Not that I am aware of.
Dante's Inferno.
Oh, yes, Dante's Inferno. I was just putting the Inferno away today. I was reorganizing my bookshelf, and I had Inferno in my hands going, where does this go? I can't, because my bookshelf was classics on top, medieval history on the second shelf, and then we got theology on the third shelf, and the bottom shelf is basically gardening. And I was thinking, where does this book does not belong here?
Yeah, it kind of belongs on all those shelves in a little bit. Yeah, I have a 3 thick volumes, Purgatorio, The Descent and whatever, Purgatory, Heaven, Hell, but I haven't read them yet. I'm such a poser. I got plenty of great books on my shelf that I haven't read yet. My wife caught me. She's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm buying a copy of Plato's Republic." She goes, "Don't buy that book." And I'm gonna get mad. "Don't tell me what to do," And then she comes downstairs with 2 other copies. She goes, "Here's the other 2 copies that you ordered when you had a whim and didn't read them yet." I'll buy my 3rd copy of Plato's Republic.
Well, here's the thing. There is a spectacular copy of Dante's Inferno. I'm not sure if the Purgatorio or the rest of them have this as well, but they did art for it in the 1800s, which is all I can't remember what it's not pen drawing, but it's engravings. It is just the most beautiful thing you've ever seen in your life, and they sell it as like an oversized book, right? If you ever get a copy of it or can find a copy of it, it is one of the most spectacular things you'll ever see.
Tony Grigos, he says same thing with New Mexico. We're essentially a red state, but we become a blue state because of Santa Fe and Albuquerque. Yeah. Same with New York. New York is all hillbilly farmers. It's just that the 5 boroughs are blue. So we and they just pack it in people, and then getting illegals and giving them driver's licenses they can vote. But all these farmers that we make fun of in upstate New York, like once you pass Westchester County, it is hillbillies in New York, just like most of the country is hillbillies. California, like what is it? It's just L.A. and what's the other one? Like Monterey, I forget. Oh, San Francisco, but the rest, like San Diego and you go out to the west, it's all rednecks. Same with Washington State. Once you get out of Seattle, but Seattle's so popular, that's why the couple of states are thinking about electoral colleges within their state. Like, what do they say? Like 65% of the people in or the areas in North England vote red, but they have no representation in Congress because the whole, the state will win by 1% and it's blue forever. RJ, people misunderstood free will because many believe in predestination. Also, free will means individually accountability, which many people are terrified by. What do you think about that?
There's a difference between predestination and what's the other? Oh, I can't think of it off the top of my head. Starts with a P, but it's like predestination. What do you call it? Oh, for crying out loud. Anyways, theologically, there's different ways of
predeterminism and predestination.
No, it's not predeterminism, but it's oh, for crying out loud. Whenever I try to think of something
I know
in my head, I can never think of it. Providence. There's a difference between predestination and providence. Providence is something completely different. Providence is basically a general outline. You still have your free will to fill in the blanks, right? That's theologically the way it goes. So a lot of people confuse and conflate predestination with providence.
I when it comes to free will, I used to have difficulty, not predestination, but God knows the future and stuff like that means we don't have free will. And this is the way I think of it. Like, all right, so God is the center of all things, and then like everything curves around God. Just to make this example work, so God over here, I'm over here on the circle, and I'm living my life, and to me, I'm making choice. But God could turn his facing, you know what I mean, and see everything. But he didn't make those choices. He just is right now. He's focused on the future. Now he's turning over here. He's in the past. Over here, he's in the present. Almost like Dr. Manhattan. He didn't cause any of us to choose those things, but he could turn and whatever. Or maybe he has eyes everywhere and he can see it all. Whatever.
That's one of the things I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know of any theologian who covers this in depth. I'm sure there has been somebody in the last 2,000 years who's done so, but I don't know who it is. But they're, especially modern day people, need to have a refresher course in understanding the difference between temporality and eternity, because those two things can exist next to each other, but you can't apply the rules of the temporal to the eternal. It does not work.
Yeah.
And people don't quite get that. So that is the whole thing about what you just described, because that's philosophy 101, where you're talking about a class in university. That's what they say. You have a string. God's looking at, like, you take your shoestring. The professor would take out his shoestring and put it on the table, and he said, I'm God. I can look at the shoestring because this is the line of time from beginning to end. I can look at any point I want, and it's still going from beginning to end, and you're still crawling along. So yeah, exactly. Your description is exactly what they do in philosophy 101 to teach it, John.
Oh, okay. I should teach philosophy then. Anything to get out of construction. Yeah, if you look at how California votes, it's all red except for 5 small blue dots. Yeah, that are just jam-packed with people dependent upon handouts from the Democrats. It's just full on. How can anybody be a Democrat? Is just, you just say, oh, I like fraud. I like fraud. It's great. I like fraud and I like men who go into women's bathrooms. And if you look at how they're going to redraw the state, those 5 small dots each have a section, and the rest is yeah. I love the Republicans all gerrymander. It's like everybody gerrymanders. I'm not saying it's right, but like you only get upset when the other guy does it. Like whatever you do, the other guy's going to do too. So that's why like we got to come up with a fair system. Almost like we get some like Argentinian guy who has no pony in the race, and he just draws districts throughout the United States and then goes back home to his cave. I don't know why Argentina. We get Hitler's grandkids to do it. RJ, what is the worst and best case scenario for Canada in your opinion?
I really couldn't label them as worst or best, because that would be outcome produced and I can't predict the outcome. But I can very easily see, let's say, Eastern Canada becoming part of New England. I mean, that's just a given if the country falls apart. Quebec becomes its own country. Ontario controls basically central Canada, and the western provinces become their own country as well. The worst case scenario is we keep on going the way that it does, and the destruction of decent life just keeps on getting thrown into the gutter.
Now, do you think it's just gonna be like a satellite state of China or something?
Well, it's going to become a satellite state of the U.S. one way or the other. Trump is building an empire, is what he's doing. He's going back to empire politics. It's the way that he's working. And if that continues into the future, and I don't see a reason why it wouldn't, because the new world liberal order has been destroyed. It's all about great powers once again, and you can call them empires, you can call them superpowers, you can call them whatever you want. But we've Canada has become a satellite state long and ever ago. They've just been deluding themselves into thinking that they're not. And
I
it's
agree.
time for the delusion to go away.
I agree that Canada and that's their resentment of the United States. I think deep down they all know it. You know, it's like the little brother who's overshadowed by his big brother. You know what I mean? I love him, but I hate him at the same time. Shouldn't a city be its own district, not parts of it being in 10 other districts? Yeah, that's the whole question: is how do you divide up? Like, so is LA its own? But LA has all this population. So, like, should they just divide the population of the country by X? You know, and that's how. We don't know. I don't know. I would just like. I don't know. I don't know. I think the solution is to have an electoral college in each state. That really is the only solution. I mean, that's really why the framers of the Constitution were such geniuses. Best Quebec separates, Alberta separates, Ontario weeps. Ontario, watch. It's funny that like the Nunavut takes over. Nobody thought about that. You know, those three armies in Nunavut roll 666s and take out the rest of Canada. risk. Virginia Dems introduced some really terrible bills, lots of new and raised taxes and giving to illegals. Yeah, I know. I remember my mother-in-law lived in Vancouver, and she's been gone now for, I don't know, 15 years or so. And I remember she was saying in Vancouver, she goes, no way to say this without sounding racist, so sue me, I'm racist. She goes, too many Chinese. She goes, it's not a Canadian city anymore, you know? And I remember at the time that was shocking, you know? Back when you weren't allowed to state the obvious. It's funny to see John Cleese, of all people, start to say like, hey, I don't think England's England anymore. Oh, really, Mr. I hate the... RJ, have you heard about this? I wanted to talk about this to you. Do you know who Richard Dawkins is?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mr. Atheist guy.
Yeah.
Did you hear what he said?
About what? About him wanting to live like a Christian but not be a Christian?
Yeah. He basically says, I'm culturally a Christian. I don't believe in it, but I think the world is better if we live under Christianity than Islam.
It's the new... there's a new thing that is just coming into people's minds right now, especially even on the internet. It's called civilization populism, which is basically saying that, yes, we're populist, but not on the right or the left for political spectrum. We're populist for, we have a civilized country. We want to keep it that way. And that's basically part of what he's trying to say, because Christianity brings a civilization to places that is not matched by what you're going to ever find in the Middle East or most of Asia, Africa, anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I just say this to people. It's like, okay, all you left-wing people. I lived through the right-wing Christians ruling, you know, during the Reagan years. You know, that was like, you know, the Reds had superpowers. Everything was great. Nobody in their right mind says things were bad in 80s America. If you guys don't remember it, it's a shame. But we had great comic books, movies were awesome, punk rock was awesome. You know, everything was great. You know, crime was. I mean, we used to complain about the crime. I wish we had the crime of the 80s. You know, it was just like a golden age. And now the left, and even though we got a right-wing president, the left is still holding the reins of most of the power, and things suck. It's garbage. Like, how can we objectively want a left wing more? How can we objectively want the left to have more power? Aren't you people? Don't you see? Like, I could see if you're 15 years old and you don't know, but like even the Ramones, who are punk rockers and stuff like that, like they were like, yeah, the 80s were great. You know, as they got older, they became more conservative. You know, Johnny Rotten of the Sex Pistols is just like, yeah. The left is ridiculous. You know, I can't believe like all the old punk rockers who are honest with themselves are like, yeah, it was great when the right were in, you know, the dead Kennedys were like rebelling and stuff like that. It's like, Jello Biafra, where do you live right now? I bet you it sucks in your neighborhood, or you moved to a nice conservative neighborhood. Now that you got
if you weren't alive during the 80s, you may not understand that it was the time of the land of milk and honey. Really, the 70s was crappy. I mean, we had some good entertainment and all that kind of stuff, but the economy, I can remember growing up, and it was not fun, right? But the 80s came along, and we were just rolling, and we had never had money before. And it was like we had Christmases where the entire room was filled with presents when,
Yep.
you know,
Things were like I was an electrician in the 80s, and the guys that like they're all like at their retirement parties, they're like, oh man, in the 80s we would things were booming, we were all going into coke rehab. That's how much money we had, you know, like and I just have to laugh, like, yeah, I got hair weaves. Like the guys were just spending money on frivolous things. Guys had boats, you know, guys had like they were buying apartments for their girlfriends, like, you know, they were laughing like that's how much money we had in the 80s, you know. And then I'm like, oh yeah, then Obama came. Remember, we were out of work for 14 weeks. Then everybody gets quiet because we're supposed to be good Democrats, you know. Yeah, who was the president in the 80s? Which side had control in the 80s? You know. And Tony says, RJ, why do you think the liberals in power are pushing for this open border situation in Europe? It's obvious that they don't assimilate to the culture. RJ, do you want to answer that? Because I could rant for 40 minutes on this question.
Well, you're saying in Europe, that's completely different than North America. It's basically the destruction. I'm sorry. I hate to be that guy, but this is the new world communist revolution. They just want to destroy the countries and their ability to actually function correctly so that the totalitarianism of whatever state that they want to bring in within the EU, mostly governed by Germany, is going to take over and just dominate. It's the Third Reich all over again, or you know, the world communist revolution, one or the other. It's all it is.
I've been saying like since the 90s, every time I heard diversity, like I called BS on it from day one, and I got called pretty nasty names. But you know, I'm not trying to flex here, but I'm like the black sheep of the family. You know what I mean? Like I always stood up for myself and everything. Like I'm the only I never got vaxxed. You know what I mean? Like I was like, no, there's no need for taking experimental drug for freaking sniffles. You know, knock it off. You know, things like that. So since the 90s, I said every time I hear diversity, what you're really saying is there's too many white people. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with too many white people. You know, NASCAR is suffering from a lack of diversity, but Nigeria isn't. So, I mean, so I've been called both. So I thought this was just white racism for the longest time, and now white supremacy, right? But what I realized, and I talked about this many times, forgive me if you heard me talk about this, but it's Europe and the United States, because we are the child of Europe. We believe in inalienable rights and personal freedom, and that's what's being destroyed. It's an attack on the individualist. So the collectivists are destroying the individualists. That's the bottom line. And it happens to be that white people are mostly the individualists. Sorry, but Africa is collectivist. Asia is collectivist. I'm not familiar with South America, so I you know, I'm not going to speak on stuff that I don't know. For all I know, Antarctica is individualist. There's probably 7 guys there who are individuals, but the rest of the continents are individual. Are you know, Australia, because that's also a product of the West. That's what's being destroyed. You know, call it socialism, call it democratic socialism, call it the warmth of collective, but it's collectivism versus individualism. What do you think? Am I off? Am I out of my mind?
No, you're absolutely right. Every time, so I don't care. I'll tick somebody off, I'm sure, when I say this, but because my friends get upset with me when I do this as well. If we're driving in a car somewhere and we see a rainbow flag, I just point to it and say, "Hey, look, communism spreads like a cancer."
I always, you know, my wife gets mad at me, you know, but like we're watching, like, oh, look at this nice interracial couple. She's like, why do you always say that? I said, because it's social engineering. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but it's just odd that every commercial is interracial, right? It's just, let's breed out this individualism. You know what I mean? You know,
they just had, I don't know if it was just, but there are commercials in one of the Scandinavian countries, Norway, I think it is, or Sweden, one of them, where they're putting commercials on the television where you have 2 Scandinavian people and they're being all lovey-dovey to each other, and then some guy pops up into their into their living room and tells them, hey, guess what? Scandinavian people breeding with each other is not really a good thing.
Right,
The reason why we are a good race is because we breed it with people from the deep south of, the continents. And it's like, are you serious? And it is a serious thing. They're putting this out on television. I'm thinking to myself, they didn't, not even just slapping too much of a paint on it at all anymore. It's just blatantly in your face.
And yet they could argue on the floor of Parliament that Pakistanians marrying their cousins is perfectly normal and part of their culture. Right? I mean, how can we? Have you heard about this Amelia thing?
Oh yeah,
I think it's the funniest thing. It's the best meme since Pepper the Frog. I love Amelia. I wish she were real. I'd buy her a beer.
That's what I like. Literally, I don't know who it was that played it the first time. It was either Asmongold or V or somebody. I was watching them play, and I'm thinking to myself, why in the world would they make this girl into the bad character, the antagonist for the entire thing? I don't understand why they're making this purple-haired girl the antagonist for this entire thing. And then when people started to make her into the actual hero, I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is beautiful. This is beautiful.
Yep. Meme magic. I don't know anything about Skyrim, but this sounds great. Vaz. I'm afraid of Skyrim. I'm afraid I will never ever go to work again if I started playing Skyrim. As a European, I hope Trump disbands NATO. Me too. As an American, it served its purpose. The world order is changing, and NATO is just going to drag us into war or hold us down. We have all the cards. We hold all the cards. And Trump is people like during his first term, Trump is weakening NATO. It's like, dude, we are NATO. We are NATO. Scandinavia ain't doing anything. Belgium ain't doing anything. It's the Achaean League. If you know ancient Greece, everybody paid taxes to Athens, and Athens provided the navy. But the thing is, it's the Achaean League, but it's not them paying taxes to us. So we're just providing the navy, but we're not getting any money on it. Athens got so rich because all the other Greek states it was easier to send them money than to send them troops. And Athens became the dominant power of the world because of it. And it worked. It kept out the Persians for so long. It's the same thing, except they're not giving us the taxes. So we don't need them. If we're going to do it on our own anyway, let's do it on our own. Get rid of the UN, get rid of NATO. They're done. Boop.
Yeah, NATO makes no sense anymore. And I'm sure some people will not like me saying this again. But the thing is that the United States needs to stop China from becoming the new world power. And in order to do so, they got to play ball with Russia. And Russia doesn't like China to begin with. It'll deal with them. But if America starts playing ball with Russia and saying, this is your side of the world, this is our side of the world, you take yours, I'll take mine, and get out of their face, which means you got to get NATO out of there, and that's going to save America as the world superpower, then that's what they're going to do. And NATO is just in the toilet.
Yeah, I agree. John, I've noticed several. Yeah, I brought this up before. Joey Ramone, back when they were alive, and Johnny. Why are they? Because they're older. I was a liberal punk rocker too, but now they're older. They got money. They got wisdom. If you ain't, except for RJ, unless or Chuck Dixon. If you're 20 years old and you're not a liberal, you got no heart. And if you're 30 years old, you're not a conservative, you got no brain, But, they were, Joey Ramone was investing in stocks and singing songs about Maria Bartolo before he died, Johnny, during the height of the Sex Pistols, Johnny Rotten, was writing songs about the British government stealing his money via taxes. Even George Harrison of the Beatles, the best Beatles song ever written is Taxman, So it's easy to be liberal and when you got nothing to lose. But I've always said this: the liberals want other people to do stuff. J.K. Rowling wants immigrants in other people's neighborhoods, not her neighborhood. I blame Dark Knight and Attack on Titan. I blame him too. I don't know what for, but I'll blame him. I'm right. And Dark Knight had to have the message. It's not about money. It's about sending a message. So some men will just want to watch the world burn. Yeah. Too bad it wasn't a Batman movie. Once you're wearing armor and taking bullets to the chest, you ain't Batman. You're Iron Man. Atheists like Richard Dawkins understand that true Christianity is pragmatic and creates prosperity. What they want, the social economics of Christianity without the moral. Yeah. Because ultimately they're left, and the left is indulgence. But they realize that with Christianity is truly tolerant. What's going to replace it is pretending to be tolerant and wait until Islam has a lot of power. They're already praying in the streets Richard Dawkins, I disagree with him, but he ain't stupid. He knows which side his bread is buttered. Why do you think aquatic and microscopic superheroes? Thank God you bring it back to superheroes. Aquatic and microscopic superheroes has never been very successful. Under the sea,
were successful back in the 40s. I mean, 40s and 50s. You got Ant-Man, you got the Atom. They were successful back then.
Yeah, I was going to say aquatic superheroes to make, because you see Submariner, most of Submariner's adventures are above the water. He's just this juggernaut. He might as well be the Hulk kind of thing. And Aquaman, a lot of his adventures are under the water, but Aquaman's kind of like jokey kind of guy, But they always just make Earth regular land, but underwater, and then you just have like little bubbles and fishies and stuff like that, and it kind of makes it cartoony and not real and not relatable and kind of childlike. To make like a real underwater superhero, that is more alien than like an alien planet. Like, again, I have a water breathing team. I called them the Deep Six. I don't know if I could still use that term. And I was thinking about their civilization under the water. Like, they wouldn't have technology because they wouldn't be able to smelt iron under the water. Could they have farming? Like, they would be like barbarian, nomadic civilization and never rise above that. They're not going to build skyscrapers and stuff like that. They wouldn't have no ladders. They would live in a 3D world. It would be so different that I don't think we as humans could, they kind of explored it a little bit during the Peter David run, and then it was quickly forgotten about how alien underworld. Now, microscopic superheroes, like if they go into a microscopic world and then they're in a world where everybody's on the same proportions as them, are they really microscopic? It might as well just be outer space. But like Ant-Man and the Wasp, is that really what when you think about a superhero, it's like, yay, I'm powerful. Whoop, I'm the size of an ant. It's not a cool power. Like they have to solve locomotion. Like Ant-Man traveled through the phones. What does he do now in the era of cell phones? Can Ant-Man send them? Can the Atom send himself through cell phones now? Does he need that wire? I don't know. I love Ant-Man. Matter of fact, this Friday, it's clobbering time on my channel, midnight. We're talking about Ant-Man versus the Atom, who would win in a fight. But I kind of like small superheroes, but I don't know. There's something not masculine about shrinking. Do I have to explain it? Do I need to bring Freud over here to explain?
I have to say, even though it doesn't really count as a shrinking story or a microscopic superhero, but I have to tell everybody, if you want something really good to read, a good miniseries, Gil Kane's Sword of the Atom is one of the best miniseries ever.
Right. And it's not really about shrinking because everybody's the same size. It's a sword and sorcery comic.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. When people talk to me about diversity, I ask them, why are they being racist? Why do you think there are too many dark people in Africa? They get confused. Yeah, I know. Only America is suffering from a lack of diversity. Meanwhile, we're the most diverse country in the world. And leave Japan alone. I like Japan. They don't need 900 Indians in Japan. Even India doesn't need 900 Indians. The one in power know how to respond to fear, and they are powerless against humor because laugh at them, and then overthrow them. We got to fix the voting. I fix the voting, and everything else will follow. We found out that the Democrats have corrupted every aspect of the government for the past 60 years, but somehow voting is not. We all know it, and I've been saying this to my cousin who lives in California, super liberal. I'm like, you can't give them driver's license. Why not? That'll make it safer. I go, how is it going to make it safe? You give them a plastic card. Now it's safe. I said, all it is now they're registered to vote. They're not going to get the voter roll. Just now they could generate a ballot and fill it out themselves. And they're like, no. I'm like, why else do you think they're pushing so hard for the illegals to have driver's license? So they could generate more ballots. And I was like freaking 22 when I said that. Amelia is basically Julia from Orwell's 1984, and the unknown main character is basically Winston. Okay. I watch all the shows that have commercials in the 80s. They had the most fun and unenforced. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everybody had the black friend on every sitcom, you know. Once in a while you had a gay character that was shocking, you know. But it was a good time. I look back at the 80s with like, oh man, it was peak civilization. The 80s were great. Probably because the most action happens on land and microscopic is too small. Yeah. I will tell you that Patriarch number 3 will have my shrinking hero. His name is Little John. He's a scientist who accidentally shrunk himself, and he realizes he's worthless. So what did he do? His name was John Little, and he taught himself archery. So he's Little John, and he's a little archer. So like he'll hide and shoot needles, and they'll coat needles and chemicals and stuff like that. Because he ain't gonna punch you. I mean, maybe he has the proportional strength and he can hit you, but he's this big. He can't get to you. He can't fly. I mean, old. Yeah, it looks like Batman has a cameo in the new Odyssey movie. Really? Batman? I'm not going to see the Odyssey movie. They're race swapping people. I have zero tolerance for that. I'm not paying movie prices to be taught diversity. It's Greek. Athena is described to look a certain way. She doesn't look like this freaking girl who should be working at the Motel 6 mopping the floors. I always wondered how aquatic races were more advanced than us. Yeah, they can't smelt metal. They can't mix chemicals. Am I talking too much, RJ? You're quiet.
No.
Okay. Plus, how do they get more advanced? Fire doesn't work in water. Yeah, right. Like I'm kind of fascinated with like a race on Mars. Like, unless Mars' atmosphere is completely different, they had no fire. And how different would a civilization without fire be? Do they have magma to smelt metals and stuff like that? It's like Martians would by default be less advanced than us simply because they don't have fire. Ant-Man was in the pool. Mobius used to get a lot of his design ideas from deep water creatures. Yeah, you want to get some scary stuff? Go down the bottom of the ocean. I find it difficult to think of a name for our shrinking superhero. Some powers are a challenge to find good names for. Oh, Dave Brink, for those of you who don't know, has a wonderful superhero series in Genuine Comics, Perfect 10, The Flying Dutchman, and other comics. So RJ, if Phil Diaz, if you're still here, anybody who makes comic books, when you come up with a character, do you come up with, okay, I want a guy to have super strength, and then you come up with the name and everything? Or do you come up with a name first and I'll just tell you right now, a name will pop into my head, and then I make up a character. So if I have 3 guys with lightning powers, it's because I have 3 cool lightning powered names, and I don't want to waste the names. But what do you guys do, Dave?
I say 6 of one, half dozen of another. It works one way sometimes, and the other way sometimes. I had a character like for Artemis. I have a character called Laughing Falcon, which is an actual bird in the South. But what the thing is that these kinds of characters, I've already said to myself that this version of these characters, which is basically kind of like a underground gangster, Eastern kind of Yakuza kind of thing. They're named after birds and stuff like that. So I come up with good bird names, and I come across it, and then I say, yeah, that's a good name. And I'll pattern the story and the character off of what the bird is like, because the character will follow what Laughing Falcons typically are, which they they kill rattlers and things like that, and they're immune to, not really immune, but they can heal from poison really quickly and all that kind of stuff because they attack snakes, things like that. So that's, and my artist said, what is this character like? I said, his name is Laughing Falcon. Here's the page for a Laughing Falcon, all about the bird. He's patterned after this. Go to town.
That's cool. That I never heard of this bird, but when you said Laughing Falcon and then you said it's a real bird, I was like, oh man, I kind of got a little jealous. That would be a cool name. Like, I can't help but picture like a scary predator type Joker kind of guy, because laughing and then Falcon as a raptor. Man, I can't wait to see this character. That sounds like a cool character, cool name. I can't waste a good name. And in my world, like, when you get superpowers, something in your personality will manifest your powers. So like, almost like we were talking about She-Hulk and and the leader and stuff like that. So I could see a lot of guys would become big and strong, because isn't that such a male power fantasy? A lot of women would become tall and beautiful, because that's a feminine fantasy, So they would be like, I don't believe in that, like the Legion of Superheroes. You couldn't have redundant powers. Like I don't think about that. There's plenty of flying strong guys in my world, because that is just like the archetypical superhero convention. So of course, when you get powers and you're like, I got superpowers, that's what you would manifest as. Laughing Falcon versus Creating Wolverine. Yeah, that Laughing Falcon's a good name, RJ. I want to see this character. Well, is he going to be in which series?
Artemis.
Oh, he's in Artemis. So
we're doing chapter 2 for Artemis right now, which is the manga style book that we're doing. He's in chapter 2, not in chapter 3, but he's a main character for one of the chapters, and then will probably be a recurring character if we get to do more books.
Phil Diaz has I'm going to shout out you. Phil knows what I'm going to say already. He has a character called the People. RJ, isn't that great? He's like a vigilante, like a Punisher type vigilante, just called the People. I think this guy is great. And I have a vigilante character, the Raven, and I was like, and then after I read the People, I'm like, nah, we got to have a team up with my character, the Public Guy, and the People. They're both just these crazy people. But anyway, Zaid says it depends. Sometimes it's the name, sometimes it's the character. We're all inspired by different creators. Okay. My Seinfeld reference was a miss. Well, that's not for me. It could go either way. Often powers come first, sometimes a name, and sometimes a story requires a specific role that the character needs. I got to say, for me, 99% of the time, I come up with, that's a cool name for a superhero or a villain, and then I'll think of the powers, and then from the name and the powers, I come up with the costume, and then last I decide whether or not they're good or evil. Usually there are exceptions. Only once did I come up with, I need a person who teleports. Just it just made the team easier. And when we were role playing, all my friends made up characters, and then I added 3 NPCs, and one of them had the ability to create portals so they could teleport, so we could do adventures better. And that was Gates, and that's her name, Gates. And then of course she looked like Gates McFadden from Star Trek, because her name was Gates McFadden. But that's her powers. She creates a gate, and like your character, like it's fragile. If you touch the edge, it pops like a balloon. So, but she can't cut anything with it. Like she can't throw discs at you. Laughing Falcon. Oh, we saw that already. Female dream of electric sheep. Yep. Android's dream of female sheep. I don't know. RJ, are you excited for the new Odyssey film?
Excited? No, I might go and watch it just to roast it though.
I'm gonna wait. I mean, my initial reactions, I don't want to see it, but if it's good, I'll see it. I'm not like adamant about it, but like I just so tired of race swapping and changes for the sake of change, like But
the only reason I would go and see things right now is I got this load of movie money, because I used to go to the movies all the time, and everybody keeps on giving me movie money, even though I don't go to the movies anymore. So I just got hundreds of dollars worth of movie money.
Who's giving you movie money, and how can I get in on this? I want a movie. So Violent Comics says, what tabletop role play game are you playing the most? I only play Villains and Vigilantes. This is the only game. It's a superhero game. Came out in the early 80s. It's almost dead. I'm literally like the only person who still talks about this game, and it's a superhero game. I heavily house rule it. I could gush about this, but I use this system if I play fantasy. I use the system if I play westerns. We've done pirate adventures. We've done like apocalyptic gamma world type adventures, fantasy. So I only play Villains and Vigilantes, and I use the rule, and then I use all of the scenarios and make one world out of them. So like the fantasy world is somehow connected to my superhero world, which is the pirates are the superhero world, but in the past, and things like that. And from that game is where my comic book came from, Violent Comics. John, has there been a popular superheroes? By the way, thank you guys for asking questions. It's better than me and RJ going, what do you want to talk about? I don't know. What do you want to talk about? Well, thank you guys for the questions. I appreciate it. John, has there ever been a popular superhero whose powers changed to something completely different and they struggled to deal with this? First off, I could think of a Superman when he became Electric Superman. Remember that, RJ?
Yep.
Yeah,
One of my characters is actually based off of Electric Superman, which you've seen in Thomas Valley #1.
yeah. I, I want Superman to stay Superman. I didn't like that he changed, but and
I'd
then
say Carol Danvers is it to answer that question.
yes, she changed a lot. Good call. She went from Miss Marvel to Binary, and then something else, and then
just Carol Danvers, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
right. Then she lost all her powers. Yeah. Another one that changed was Guy Gardner. He was a Green Lantern, and then he became that guy whose body morphed into weapons. I think they called him Warrior. And then, then he's back to being Green Lantern again. And then he was a Yellow Lantern, but that's the same as a Green Lantern. There's a bunch of who else changed? There's a few that changed. I know, but like you kind of caught me off guard. But if I sat down and thought of this, I'm sure I'd come up with other superheroes whose power sets completely changed. I know there's more. Yeah, I just saw somebody said Resurrection Man. Where's that comic? Yeah, Resurrection Man gets new powers every time he dies and comes back to life. That was a surprisingly good series. And like what I remember one humorous moment that was written by Danny Abbott.
It's a Comico?
It was Comics. It was DC Comics.
What was
it? He was one of the forgotten heroes. And he was fighting somebody and he got killed and he came back with like a worthless power, so he like jumped off a building.
Kind of like Dial H for Heroes.
Yeah, it was like Dial H for Heroes is another one, but those were different people who always got different powers. I'm trying to scroll back to the questions. When do you think the race swapping will end? I think people are getting sick of it. I think once the normies start to notice stuff, it's the beginning of the end. And like now I'm hearing regular people talking about what's with all the immigrants, what's all the fraud. You know, I think we're turning a corner. I think the race swapping is about to end. It's just ridiculous. Oh, the character doesn't mean anything. The race doesn't. Okay, so Malcolm X will be a white guy. Don't tell, Black Panther will be a white guy. Like you're doing it for it's obvious, and people are sick of it. And the only way to end it is to cold turkey. Don't see these movies. Don't talk about them. Don't hate watch them. That's I said 10, 15 years ago. It's like I'm done. I have zero tolerance. I'm not going to see these stupid movies because they race swap or they turn a guy gay or all of a sudden if I take me and my wife, whenever we go to the movies, we get the popcorn, then we go out to dinner. So we're talking about $100. Yeah, that's cheap, but that $100 $100. And then in the middle of that $100, I don't want to hear a lecture about lesbianism or something like that in a movie. If I want to see a lesbian movie, then I'll go to see a lesbian movie. But if I'm going to see Die Hard, I don't need the lecture in the middle of the movie. So like me and my wife, we'll wait like 1 or 2 weeks before we see any movie. And I'm like, what was it like? The guys at work, what was it like? Was it preachy and stuff? And even the regular normie guys, they're like, yeah, it was a little preachy, man. That I won't see it. So just vote with your dollar. Don't give in and say, but I really want to see Avatar. You're just promoting this stuff. RJ's talking about Christmas gifts or movie ticket money. Yeah, who's giving you movie money? What's the system?
Siblings.
Oh, okay. I'll tell you. Okay. I'll tell you, siblings. RJ's tired of all the movie money. Send it to me. I'll be a better brother. Villains and Vigilantes by Fantasy Games Unlimited. So Fantasy Games Unlimited is the name of the company. They make a bunch of games. I recommend it. If customers and backers are nice enough to stick with me, I would like to make my own role-playing game based on the concept of mind, body, spirit. Those will be the three main focuses, but without getting it into the weeds. But I would like to make my own role-playing system at some point in the first. Is it like fifth edition? No, it's more like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. This came out and stopped being. It came out and hasn't evolved since 1983 or 84. So compare it to D&D of 1983 and 84. But I literally have a house rule section that is like this thick. So it's fun for what it is, but literally I've been playing it for 40 years and I started to realize its limitations. So if anybody's interested, email me. I'll send you a copy of my house rules, but it makes no sense unless you have the base game.
I sent you a nice race swap picture, John, that I did up probably about 5-6 years ago.
Okay.
Posted on my Twitter if you want to pull it up.
Okay. There we go. There we go. I can't talk and push buttons at the same time. There we go. The Falcon. Steve Rogers is the Falcon.
There you go. Because we need race off and we go out there. Let's go that way.
To me, people. Sam Wilson deserves to be the Captain America. No, because what you're saying is the Falcon wasn't good enough. The Falcon was his own thing. He was its own concept. He's a cool superhero. I love the Falcon. When I was a little kid, I used to draw the Falcon. I thought the wings were cool and everything. He was freaking great design. But Bucky was the sidekick, and that's just the natural progression. Bucky's the apprentice. In the comic books, the movies has got a kind of a different relationship. So like that's why I had no problem with Carol Danvers becoming Captain Marvel. She was there from the beginning. She was Miss Marvel. She was the apprentice. Just I didn't like the way they executed it in her personality. But all of a sudden to make somebody just else be Captain Marvel. Like I had a problem with Monica Rambeau as Captain Marvel, and I really liked how they were like. After a while, they wanted to use the name Captain Marvel for somebody related to the original Captain Marvel, and Monica Rambeau was like, there was an original Captain Marvel? I didn't know. I just thought it was a cool name. Like they kind of just played it off that not everybody memorizes the statistics of all the superheroes. So they won me over with him. Superman Blue Red, yep. We're so far behind the Resurrection Man. RJ, do you ever think we'll see an end to gay race communism in popular culture?
Oh yeah, definitely. I was thinking about doing a short about that pretty soon. I'm starting to do a couple of shorts on my channel just because watching videos, and I'm saying to myself, I'm going to make a comment here. Instead of making a comment, I'm just going to do a video if I got a couple of minutes.
I got it. People keep telling me to make shorts. It's the only way to get engagement. I'm kind of happy with my channel. It's a creative outlet and a hobby. It's not my income. I think once you start dancing to the algorithm, it's like you're compromised.
I just do on my channel whenever I want to talk about.
Right, that's the thing. You do whatever you want to do, so that's great. But you know what I'm talking about. Some people, that they don't believe in anything. They just believe in whatever's going to get them clicks.
Yeah, there's a lot of comic book guys supposedly out there. All they're doing is chasing their channel down, and it's like, why are you complaining about this? I agree. Again, you said this earlier. It's like, don't listen to Richard very much anymore, but he's dead on about a couple of things. One of them being, a lot of these guys are just complaining for the sake of complaining because they need clicks. That's about it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I can't argue with that. But it was the constant harping on it. Geez. Somebody on the internet does something I don't like. Okay, that was interesting. Okay, it was interesting 12 times. Dude, you've been doing it for 50 times in a row. Knock it off. I don't care. I don't watch those channels, so I don't want to hear you complain about those channels. And then he attacked me personally, and I was like, what the hell did I do? Some characters constantly change because the writers don't know what to do with them. Absolutely. Like Captain America. He totally believes in my politics. Captain America always has the writer's politics. I think they did a good job. Just he's supposed to be the ideal American, and I like when Captain America doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter my personal politics. I believe in America. Like if I was to write Captain America, he wouldn't be Mr. Trump supporting conservative. He would be, this is the Constitution, and I'm fighting for the ideal that is laid out in this Constitution. That's America. The dream, like how many like Reed Richards, he was like a cool scientist, and now he's just like a mush, because they don't like dads, they don't like father figures. When Zevites, Jesuits, Grand Orient, and Priory and Scion, and I have no idea what this is talking about. This is way over my head. RJ, do you know what this is?
I'm not. Don't know what he's referring to as part of another sentence.
Okay. Miss Marvel, yes, binary Warbird, then Captain Marvel, yeah, and she had drastic powers, Speedball and Penance. Yeah, he had the same powers. They just kind of changed up his concept. But yeah, I like the idea of I actually. It sounds like so pretentious, but I had a non-player character called Penance, and he was a vigilante. He was like a Punisher, but he was like a religious Punisher, and he didn't want to kill, but he was like doing penance for like, whatever. I
know you don't particularly like Danny. What is his name? Kinch, the '90s Ghost Rider, but
no, I don't dislike him. It's just he's not my Ghost Rider. You know what I mean?
No, but I think the Penitent Stare was one of the best powers that they could come up with for a
that is a
cool, that time.
Yeah, absolutely right. It is a cool power. That is a cool power. It's just Hal Jordan was my Green Lantern. I don't dislike the other. Well, I do dislike the other. I feel like how many freaking Green Lanterns are active at the same time? One superhero by the name. One. What's so special about the Earth that there's 47 Green Lanterns? Every other planet gets one. What series? Which new series is good? I've been waiting so long with the comments. I don't know what you're referring to. John and RJ. I think people fear drowning and giants so much that underwater and shrinking heroes are not easily relatable. Yeah, drowning is scary, man. You ask people, well, how would you rather die, drowning or by fire? And people like, those are like the two most horrible choices in the world. Just shoot me in the face, get it over with. I just think shrinking is like an emasculating power. I gotta sneeze. Excuse me. The power to make people sneeze. How distracting would that be in the middle of a fight? All of a sudden, the guy's like, and he gets beat up while he's trying to sneeze.
There's a comedian on YouTube, Brian George. Do you know who he is?
No.
He has a little skit that he does. He's a superhero. He's, minor inconvenience. So he causes minor inconveniences to happen to people. It's like, oh, why is my sock wet? And then he falls over, the supervillain, and things like that.
My friend Brian made a student film in college that the teacher wouldn't. They were showing all the student films and they wouldn't show his student film, and he was pissed. And it was great. It was called Tourette's Boy, and he was a superhero, and he wore a cape with a T, and he was Tourette's Boy, and guys would be fighting people, and he would just be like, jerk, faggot, jerk. And they would beat him up, and then the victim would be like, thank you, Tourette's Boy, and he's just getting pummeled. And he showed up his old black guy, and he's like, fat, and so the victims always get away because Tourette's Boy just says the wrong thing and gets beat up. Do you think conservatism and liberalism in our country has more of a yin-yang relationship, or is it a more zero-sum thing? Do you want to address this? Because I definitely have an answer for this, and I'll probably pontificate forever.
They're both, I don't know. I'll put it this way. I can't answer that question for the entire history, but right now, they're just two sides of the same coin. They're all operating under the liberal system. So even you have conservative mind and conservative ideas, they're still operating under the liberal system.
I'm going to answer this in the Roman Republic. Rome used to be a monolith. When the Senate all voted on stuff, even the people that disagreed, they shut up and they acted. Okay, we understand that we have to act as one. We debated, we argued, we voted. I lost, but in the interest of Rome, we have to enforce what we agreed upon, and they worked together. Somewhere along the way, the people who lost would undermine the people that won, and the whole system broke down, and then we had Sulla and emperors, and it became an empire. That's what we're living under now. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, these guys don't want to do anything with the Republicans. They don't want to be, they don't work under the, like, I think maybe I'm naive, but I'd like to think that, like, whoever lost to Teddy Roosevelt loved America and was like, I lost, but I want Teddy Roosevelt to succeed because he's now the president and this is my country and I love my country and I'm patriotic. I disagree with this guy, but I believe in the system and maybe the next guy will be more what I like. You know what I mean? But right now, I think it's just like, no, they're Nazis. The other side is literal Nazis. And then we're importing so many people who have no love for the Constitution. Like this new governor of New York. He doesn't care about the American way of life. Like he grew up in Tunisia. 7 years ago he was in Africa, and now he's here running, really the capital of the country. And he has no love of the American system, no love he home ownership is white supremacy, and he wants to dismantle the police force because it can't work. It can't work. Back then, when they both sides like, okay, we disagree. Like the liberal thing was, I disagree with what you're saying, but I'll fight for your right to say it. That's out the window. Nobody says that. Nobody believes that anymore. We used to say sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. When was the last time anybody said that? Now words are literal violence. Like the concept of the American dream, like it or not, Trump is the closest that we have to what I think like the founders wanted. And he's our last gasp. If Trump gets, if we don't fix the voting system, they're going to put the next president will be like freaking Gavin Newsom, and that's it. They are not going to play by the rules. Like the problem with the Republicans is they're too nice. They're not arresting these people. They're following the procedure of the law, and to them, they're just like, we got away with it. They're like a bad little kid. That like, why you stole that toy? Yeah, and then like, okay, well, I'm not going to punish you because that'll hurt. Your own guilt will consume you. The kid's like, I got away with it, man. I'm going to do it again because I got away. That's the way they are, the Democrats now. We need to crush them. We need to march Nancy Pelosi to jail. Hillary Clinton's got to go to jail. Obama's got to go to jail. Everybody else has got to be like, what? We can't do this anymore. We got to fix the voting. Otherwise, it's the end of America. The only possible savior is Trump pulls a coup. You become Sulla and we have an emperor for life. And at this point, it's better than Democrats ever coming back in power. That's the point that I'm thinking. Did I just lose 100 billion subscribers? So yeah. We are at a turning point in history. You said it in one of your videos, and I never thought of it before. RJ, I love your videos. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, RJ does a serious video without this clown with the beard interrupting him all the time. On Saturdays, he does these really wonderful like essays. And they always give me stuff to think about. But one of the things you said is we are living in a post-apocalyptic dystopian future. And you're absolutely right. I didn't think of it until you said it. Yeah. Or that's how far back the comments are. You said that the best advertising tagline in the world, it hasn't changed since 84. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. It needs to change. The problem is Scott Bizarre, I don't think makes enough money to really be interested in this. Like you're not the first person who said I should buy this game and run with it. The problem is the guys who created the game, Jeff D and Jack Herman, they went to Scott Bizarre. Scott Bizarre was the businessman who took the loose leaf notes from these two kids and turned it into a game. So Scott Bizarre is just as much as a creator as I am, and Jeff D doesn't understand that. I'm like, who took the risk? Who paid for it? Without all three of you guys, I don't want to sound like a communist, but like Jeff D and Jack Herman wrote a game that would have stayed on a loose leaf paper if Scott Bizarre didn't lay out the money out of his own pocket and make it a reality. And then they sued each other, and I think Scott Bizarre won the rights to it. So I'm having Jeff D on my channel. It should be really interesting. Really interesting. I would love to. That's been a dream of mine to save up the 30 grand and buy the game, but is it worth it? I'll save up 30 grand to sell $2,000 worth of games. You know what I mean? I would love to. I would love to, though. I prefer Captain Marvel, Billy Batson. That's my boy. That's the only superhero I would be interested in writing if the world's ever aligned and they gave me a job writing a mainstream comic book. Plus, a superhero with giant wings throwing a shield would get in the way. Yeah, he's two different motifs put together. It's like Flaming Spider. Spider-Man's now the Human Torch. These people just don't get superheroes. Falcon was fine on his own. And if you're gonna take the shield and give a guy with wings, he becomes the American Eagle. You know what I mean? But they want to keep the Captain America name. No, make him a new superhero. He's the American Eagle, and it works in so many different ways. It's patriotic. He's Eagle, and then you could have another guy be Captain America, and you can have another guy be the Falcon. These people don't realize how to sell and market because they're communists, not capitalists. Who attacked you personally? Richard Ross? Yes, he did. He insulted me because I had an opinion about the ballerina and then edited it out. I said I loved the movie and I bought the DVD, but I had one criticism about the movie. So and then he deleted the video, deleted the comment, and I emailed him. And I asked for a refund on the 6 outstanding books that he made. And to his credit, he reimbursed me with instantly. So he's got that going for him, which is nice. John, RJ, who is the best live action Joker? RJ, who do you think?
Live action? Oh, geez. I really don't know.
Cesar Romero, and then by light years away, everybody else.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with that. Cesar Romero. Yeah, thinking back to old school.
And I will say, I didn't like the Joker. I didn't like Jack Nicholson. I thought he was obvious. You know, for such a great actor, he just phoned it in. If you ask me. But then again, I didn't like the Tim Burton Batman movies. Resurrection. Oh yeah, we're back to. Resurrection Man. The new series I hear is good. Oh, okay. I thought I was clicking on the same old comment. I started collecting comic books in the 90s, collected 5 comics, then quit. Oh, okay. So I'm curious, what are you here because of RJ then? Just, which is good. John, Squadron Supreme or Watchmen, which was a better deconstruction of superheroes? RJ, do you want to take this?
I would just go with Squadron Supreme, quite honestly, just because I detest the Watchmen. But honestly, if he was allowed to take the original Charlton characters and to do what he wanted with them, that would have made the entire thing, the visuals and the connection to the history would have made the entire Watchmen idea so much better, if you ask me. Because that would have been an actual good deconstruction of the characters. I don't particularly like the deconstruction idea whatsoever. His idea when they deconstructed Miracle Man, I did not like that. Stuff like that. Just taking old heroes that are supposed to be campy and fun and were what people grew up with as children, and then turning them into murder hobos does not work for me. I'm sorry.
I like both of them. I really like. This is like asking me which one of my children I like best. I don't have children, so, but I really like the Watchmen. I thought it was important, but it was interesting. I was like, okay, they deconstructed superheroes. But it was a one and done as far as I'm concerned. Like the Watchmen directly led to the Boys, and I don't like the Boys, So Squadron Supreme to me was like more superhero-y. But they were, I think they're both brilliant. Read them both. I think they're really good. But it's hard. Ask me again tomorrow. I'll have a different answer. But it's hard for me to pick which one. I just remember the Watchmen was such a big, fun, interesting thing. It got people in the comic book stores. It got people talking. It made the news. I thought it was very, very important. But it's time to move on from the Watchmen. Even Alan Moore says it's time to move on from the Watchmen. It was good. It was necessary, but like RJ said, I'm tired of the deconstruction.
I'll put it this way, just to put a pin in the last bit of my idea. I remember picking up the Watchmen off of the spinner rack and looking at it and going, nope, put it back. I just, from the very beginning, it's not me hating it after a while. It was me flipping through it when it first came out, and I was like, don't want to buy this, and I bought everything.
No, okay. Yeah, I think I got caught up in the hype, but I liked it. I thought it was fun to figure out where it was going. I thought it was really well written, but I will say the movie had a better ending. The squid didn't, it worked at the time, but the ending when they blamed it all on Dr. Manhattan was so much better. And I bet you Alan Moore is just livid that Scott Snyder came up with a better ending than he did. You know. John, after reading the 1989's Cosmic Odyssey, I've hated the character of Jon Stewart. What are your thoughts? You feel the same way about this, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I hated Jon Stewart because of that book and Mosaic, which came after that as well.
Yeah, didn't he goofed and a planet blew up?
Yeah, he destroyed. There was the Cosmic Odyssey was basically they had to destroy key points in the universe for it to collapse. He was to guard one of those key points, I think with Bug. I'm not entirely sure who it was. He got paired with one of the new gods, and he said, "You're useless. I'm going to do this myself." And then they blew up the planet because they took the bomb and they painted it yellow.
Right. They peed on it. They should have paid the homeless people not to pee on it, and we would have been able to save the universe. Yeah, I like the idea of Jon Stewart. I like the idea that he was an architect and like he built his constructs as an architect. But yeah, there's some things that you can't come back from. Like I used to like I used to like Hal Jordan, but then it was Parallax, but he blew up Coast City, and how many millions of people died. There's lines that you don't come back from, you know. And when you have a superhero and you want to do those shocking stories, you got to think, is this going to damage the brand? And there's no like the X-Men are damaged. How are they going to come back from being, mutant supremacists?
And I'll say this to the dismay of all of the old comic artists and storytellers. Jim Shooter saved comics, and without a Jim Shooter at the head to tell people, I'm sorry, Jean Grey can't go back to being a demure little schoolgirl after destroying an entire planet. Yep. You're just going to ruin the characters.
Yep, I agree. The Nazis were fascist. I think the progressives admired to be communist. Well, I know Eric July's getting attention for calling the Nazis socialists, and to me, it doesn't matter. It's collectivists versus individualists. And the Nazis are collectivists, the socialists are collectivists, the fascists are collectivists, communists are collectivists. Collectivists are the bad guys. Anything that erodes the individual is bad. So if you want to split hairs and say the Nazis was socialist and whatever, it doesn't matter. It's like saying it's a different color poop. They're collectivist. Collectivism is bad. Individualism is good. That's the bottom line. So if you want to fight over which type of collectivists the Nazis were, as long as you agree that they were collectivists and collectivists are bad, that's good enough for me. What do you think about that, RJ?
Absolutely. Same manure, different pile.
The mayor of New York City growth in the lap. Yeah, he grew up in the lap of luxury with servants and armed guards surrounding the comp. Yeah, I know. And then he traveled on the subway with armed guards. All he needed was me. I would have protected him in the subway. John doesn't believe in J.D. Vance. I hope so. No. Oh man, I like that guy. Tell me that guy's not the best vice president in the history of America. You know, he grew up as a poor hillbilly. You know, he was fat and then he's skinny. That to me, I like that. And then I like the fact that like people make fun of him and he just loves it and goes along with it. You know, he put on that goofy wig and made pictures of himself. I like him. I like him. And then he's sharp as a tack too when he argues with people. I like him. If he ran for president in 2020, he got my vote. Trump just said today he's making arrests for. Oh, good. Maybe I missed it. Good. I want to see it because this Pam Bondi is really, really getting on my nerves. Come on, do something. I watch all of RJ Saturday. Me too. And it's funny because I'll put him on, and my wife will sit down, and we just listen. We listen to him.
Thank you very much, Classy.
Yeah, I enjoy them, RJ. Like I said, I say this all the time. I think I embarrass RJ when I say this, but I was a fan of his channel, and I was just a jerk commenting in your comments. And I forget why, but I ended up saying I have 58,000 comic books in my comic book collection, and you were like, really? And then we just started talking back and forth. And how did we end up talking? Like, because you interviewed me on, I was your practice interview when you started interviewing people.
Oh yeah, we had talking for a while before that, just on Twitter, just because to to say that, like, I always thought I had a big comic collection until I met John, and just to hear about how large your comic collection was, I wanted to know more about you, because you are someone who appreciates comics, and after talking to you, then I understood. You and I were on the same wavelength.
Yeah, and you practiced interviewing me, and then that got me on the interviewing bug. So I wouldn't have a channel if it wasn't for RJ. So RJ could he could do no wrong as far as I'm concerned. I don't enjoy The Watchmen. I appreciate it on artistic level, but it's not much fun. I loved it, but I don't think I'm going to ever reread it. I loved it. It was a product of its time. It was interesting, for good or for bad. It changed comics. It was a milestone. It's an amazing comic book work of art. But I also recognize why people wouldn't like it, and it's not everybody. I don't know. It caused damage that I don't think it was intended to cause. That and The Killing Joke and Dark Knight Returns, they were all important milestones, but ultimately I think all of comic bookdom would be better without them. And as I say that, I realize I don't truly believe that, because I do think Watchmen elevated writing to a certain extent. It really caused snooty people who hated comic books to, like, okay, comic books could be literature kind of thing. But I do think that they caused unexpected long-term damage to comic books. Most of the so-called artists against AI are leftists, but they should be happy that art is being redistributed. I think AI is never going to replace real art, because I talked about this all the time. Forgive me if I'm boring everybody, but RJ, you were the one that made me think about this. But Plato, he says that we have the logos, logic, and we also have the mani. And whenever people talk about Plato, they always talk about the logic and everything like that. They forget that Plato did, he was like, the mani is divine inspiration, like literally, like the stuff that makes no sense. Like all of a sudden you just get an idea in your dream, or all of a sudden you have divine inspiration, or a bout of madness, or you get drunk with your buddies. He says that is part of thought too, and there's no way to describe it. It's just this undescribable part of the human brain, and to deny that doesn't give us inspiration and ideas is a lie. But we also have logic, and everybody talks about the logic, and I think AI is following an algorithm and logic and computer science. It's never going to have that mani, and if it does, it's going to be not human. So I think it's the new cool toy, but I think over time people are going to be like, they're going to recognize it as inferior, and then there's going to have guys like JDA who embrace it because he has no talent to begin with. Little dig. John and RJ, Miles Morales should have been named something spider related, but not Spider-Man. He should have had a completely different origin story that would have stopped. Absolutely. There's plenty of spiders. He could have been, the brown recluse. He could have been, whatever. There's so many different spiders. But my problem with him is not that they race swap Spider-Man. That's bad. But my main problem is they created Miles Morales because they were hedging their bets that the Disco estate were going to win their case and get maybe not all rights, but they were going to get some rights back to Spider-Man. So they purposely started making Peter Parker effeminate, and then they made a new Spider-Man. So if they did lose the case, they could drop Peter Parker and have what I call scab Spider-Man. So whenever the leftists talk about, oh, you're racist, I go, I thought you were for the creator rights. Here's a big nameless corporation that tried to screw over the creator. You like the scab version. You like the version to undermine creative rights. And then watch their heads explode because leftists don't understand logic. The movie had a better ending. The movie is great. I got to see it again. I saw it once in the movie theater. Yes, he did. He stole an ending from The Watchmen from an episode of The Outer Limits. Yeah, absolutely right. Can't believe Marvel let Gary Frank do an X-rated Squadron Supreme comic film. I remember there was nudity. I remember the Wonder Woman girl was walking around naked. Was it X-rated or just like R-rated? I mean, X-rated is a bridge too far for superhero comic books. Nazism, communism, fascism, all liberal, all different. But yeah, it's all collectivism. You're absolutely right. The best way to grow your comic collection is to buy other. Yes, I did that, which is how I ended up with like a lot of comics doubles and things like that. You know, I went through a big buying other people's comics collection phase. Nowadays, I purposely avoid that kind of stuff because my big fear is to find out that somebody's got a great collection for sale. I'm like, oh God, because I'm weak. RJ, I'm weak. Help me. So, John, you own more comics than your local comic book store. Maybe, you know, probably. I mean, I still was updating my collection. You know, I have a scanner that I scan everything in, put it in a database, and I'm up to box 54, and I stopped when I broke my neck, and I just got me out of the habit. So I got to get back and keep scanning because I'm sure I have more. 58,000 was the last time I did an inventory, and that was 3 years ago. The Watchmen TV series, I didn't even watch it. I knew. I remember my friend Jeff was like, "Oh, John, there's a Watchmen TV series." I said, "Do you see the commercial? How much you want to make a bet that like the Rorschach army are going to be alt-right Nazis?" You know, and he was like, you could just see the light went out in his face. So I never saw the show. Am I right? I don't want to watch it. Like, we want to make a show. It's called The Watchmen, but it doesn't have any of the characters, and it's 25 years in the future, and it references the Tulsa race riots that were made by Democrats, by the way. The Tulsa riots, the ruling party was the Democrats that did all that, and for some reason the Republicans are blamed, but it's the Democrats. It has nothing to do with The Watchmen. I call that stolen gravitas. We're going to make it everything that The Watchmen isn't, but we're going to call it The Watchmen. This is ice cream. It's got melted cheese. It's on a flat bread. You bake it in the oven. You put some tomato sauce on it. That sounds like a pizza. Yeah, but it's ice cream. That's what The Watchmen TV series is. Because we you know, I'm starting to get sick of AI art. It's all the same face, the same poses. Yeah. I think it's going to start inbreeding on itself. I think in another couple of years, the fad's going to be over. I mean, they're going to use it to diagnose diseases. There's going to be good uses for AI, but art isn't a good use. Why would I give you money for an AI art? You know, I mean, you want to make a movie about Archie Bunker beating up, you know, I don't know, Sherman Helmsley as Urkel dances in front of him. You know what I mean? That's what people are going to be doing with it. Yes, Nazi stands for National Socialists. They are socialists. They are socialists, but you know, like when people argue they aren't. I'm like, you're collectivists. It's you're one of the heads on the Hydra. Doesn't matter. You're still the same monster. Logic and reason is the harbinger of your pain. Okay. Kind of scary. I read that in Rorschach's voice. Logic and reason is the harbinger of your pain. as he's beating me in a bathroom in a prison. Miles Morales was not a character. He was a skin color. Yeah, he was literally created to
usurp.
Usurp creators' rights. That's all he was. So he's scabs. He's spider scab. He's scab man. Spider scab. Absolutely. John, will you eventually sell your collection, or do you have a niece or nephew you'd leave it to? I always said that when I retired, I'd sell my collection. And as I get closer and closer to retirement, I don't want to sell my collection.
Gotta give you something to do.
So, I don't have any kids. My nieces, you know, half my nieces and nephews are screaming liberals. I don't want to live them shit. You know, I got like a couple of nieces and nephews that they come and visit. And I hate to be like, you're out of the will, but like, you know, you vote for Obama and you want my comic book collection? Get out of here. You know. So I keep joking that I'm just gonna have my heart attack and my wife and her new boyfriend will go on a cruise around the world. So she hates when I say that. You know, but I make sure that she knows the value. I know people like, you let your wife know how much, because I'm afraid that I'll die and she'll be like telling the movers, just get this shit out of here. You know what I mean? As they're throwing away Fantastic Four #1. You're right, John. Rorschach was a stand-in for the. Yeah, I knew it. RJ, here's a good RJ. I'd like to know this myself. Would you consider objectivism to be a good philosophy?
No, absolutely not. They go with basically like Ayn Rand philosophy. It's a form of hyper selfishness, basically. I mean, okay, we'll go with Ayn Rand. Besides the fact that if you look at these newer philosophies, I always talk about this, I shouldn't go on too long, but you look at Nietzsche, you look at Ayn Rand, you look at people like that. These are the people that came up with their philosophies, and they couldn't live out the philosophies that they came up with. And yet they expect other people to, and them being the ones who know it best. I mean, they did the exact opposite when given personal choices than their philosophy that they came up with. So it's not really objective at all. It's more of a base materialism, which is, if you follow it through to its logical conclusion, the destruction of free will. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. I'm not as harsh against objectivism as RJ is. I think it gets a bad rep. I think people straw man it a lot, but I also admit I can't get through her books. I tried to read Atlas Shrugs. It's like it's torture. But I like it. I'm kind of fascinated with it. I kind of like Mr. A and all the Steve Ditko stuff, but and again, there's a race in space. What in my comic book, they're called the Udal, and the Udal are the Ayn Rand. They live. The whole world is objectivism. You know, they believe charity is nonsense. They won't help anybody. And they're the super beings. They're like the ultimate power. But the thing is, they want to have nothing to do. They're all geniuses. They're all like golden gods. You know, because they just evolved through culling of the weak. And they're like Ayn Rand's wet dream. And they want to have nothing to do. They're isolationists. And luckily, if they weren't, they would conquer the world. So I've always been fascinated with objectivism, but I need to read more about it. So I probably have like a romanticized version of it in my head someplace. Always remember their goal: subvert, replace. Yeah. You talk to any of these asylum seekers, they go back to their countries for vacation. They are here as punishment for colonialism. And you know what? Colonialism was great. Find me an African country that wasn't colonized, and I'll show you a shithole. You know, South Africa was nothing. Then the Dutch came, and they made it a first world country. And then the Zulus conquered their way in, and then we left, and now it's garbage again. You know, Africa benefited from colonialism. Don't let anybody tell you anything otherwise. India was barbaric. We don't just have a Viking funeral and take your comics with you.
If he did that, I would be pushing him off. I would drive down to New York and push him off.
RJ shows up with a fire extinguisher. I voted you a will. Hey, John, put me in the will. Of course, that means I have to outlive you. As I eat chips, drink soda, and stay up too late. Yeah, I ain't outliving anybody.
Well, that being said, John, I think this should be our last comment. We're hitting 3-hour mark.
Yeah, I can't believe that we're staying up so late. RJ, would you consider Ditko characters like the question of Mr. A, even Ditko inspired characters to be heroic? All right, last question. You want to end up? We'll end on that.
I wouldn't consider them to be heroic. I would consider them to be let's say, a proto version of deconstruction that actually worked for the time period. And it got to deeper questions of what is a hero. And I appreciate them for that, but I would not call them heroic.
I wouldn't call Mr. A heroic, but I would call Rorschach heroic because he's the only one who stuck to his ideals. He had a code, ideals, and he stuck to it. Everybody else compromised. And that's why I think he hit him. That's why I think people like Rorschach out of all the characters. And I don't believe that Alabor hated Rorschach. I think he just likes to play up that stuff. I don't know, but I never met the guy. That's the first question I'd ask him if I ever met him. But yeah,
He would never answer that question.
Ethiopia was never colonized. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Ethiopia never was. But Ethiopia, because they had their shit together. You know what I mean? They're like one of the only countries that has it together. You know, didn't they fight off Napoleon? Thanks for streaming. Thanks you guys for being here, and thanks for putting up with us for 3 hours. Well, 3 hours and 15 minutes of comics, not bad. That's almost like a record. Anything you want to say before we go, RJ?
No, well, actually, I'll just say that the links for John's book and for the sign-up page for mine are in the link for the description on my channel. Just to let you know if you're watching it on my channel.
Yeah, I'll put your sign-up page. So it's a sign-up page for Fade to Blue, RJ's comic. It's not out yet. You sign it up, and then he'll give you notifications so you won't miss it when it's ready to go. Right?
Yep.
Abrax, good to see you. Good to see you. Sleep well, everybody. And tomorrow, oh, geez, I got to go to bed because I forgot I got a noon stream tomorrow. So noon tomorrow with Cooper, Jesus as an exorcist. I have a couple of thoughts that I would like to talk about. And see ya. And check out RJ on Saturday.
See you all later.
At this point, it's goodbye, kids.